Hello, Lund loyalists. John Lund Unleashed YouTubers, those watching on X and Instagram and listening on Apple or Spotify, please make sure you subscribe, like, and turn on your alerts so you never miss a show. And for all things Unleashed, go to johnlundunleashed.com. Live shows, archives, the blog, social media, links, and more. Now likely nursing a hangover, unshaven, unshowered, and a 50-50 chance of his teeth being brushed. Here's Johnny. Here's Johnny.
Yes. Thanks for joining us. What are we at? 24th? Tom goes live today at noon. Tolbert at noon today. Thanks for all the love on the show Friday for probably on the show. Scratchy today. I was trying to upload some pictures from the weekend, man. I was down in Santa Cruz and Capitola area. Oh, beautiful weather this weekend. In fact, about 24 hours from right now. You ever do that when you're on a vacation? Like, 24 hours ago or 48 hours ago or a week ago. We were sitting right on the boardwalk there in Santa Cruz, having a beautiful breakfast, looking out at the water, going, you got to be kidding me. A giant Irish coffee in front of me. But I am happier to be with you right now. It is episode 69. Nice. Weekend recap. We got a ton to do from Andre Iguodala, having his jersey retired, and he's vastly underrated in the lore of Warriors history. So we'll get into that. 3 to talk about from the Giants, my annual spring training warning, combine week. As you saw Brock Purdy in the show cover today, there's not weird to look at Brock, young Brock, before he was a 49ers. He's got the Iowa State towel there. That's Bryce Eldridge in the middle. We'll get into Bryce Eldridge. He's 3 from the weekend. Combine week, Stafford to Vegas, and what that means for the Rams and the 49ers. I understand why, though, and so do you if you watch the show with any regularity. Tom, as I said, Tolbert, who was on Friday. If you missed that, go back. John Lund Unleashed on YouTube. I have shorts of it, just the interview itself, the entire show, whatever you want to watch from Friday. And he will start on the Tom Tolbert show. Do I have an overlay of Tom? Yes, I do. The Tom Tolbert show, which starts today at noon. So make sure that you check that out as well. Plus random things throughout the day. That's what we do. Welcome in. That's the chalkboard. If you are new around here, we always go by the chalkboard. We try to stay by the chalkboard. We'll see. I go on to random tangents all the time, brought on by the chat room, and we'll do the intros and roll call in just a moment. But it's great to have you. Make sure John Lund Unleashed, all you got to do, even though if you're watching on Instagram and X at John Lund Radio on those platforms, but you can also zip over to YouTube, John Lund Unleashed, and you can subscribe there. That way you don't miss anything. Put those alerts on, and please hit the thumbs up. Helps the algorithm and all those kind of things they tell us. So if you're watching on X and Instagram, we love it. But if you come over to subscribe on John Lund Unleashed, that would be dandy as well. And we have the website, johnlundunleashed.com. So we have live shows there. Show right now is running on johnlundunleashed.com, plus podcasts, archives of show, archives of podcasts, pods, and, of course, the blog, which we update probably every other day. But really good stuff. So anyway, lots of things to do today on a Monday. Thank you for subscribing, for being here, all of those things. By the way, we have a shop up that we need to do. And one thing before we get to roll call, if those in the John Lund Loyalist Club, the Lund Loyalists, if you would email me, john@johnlundradio.com, john@johnlundradio.com, we'll set that chat up that I've been talking about for weeks. Plus, I owe you product out of my store, which let me just show you before we go. I know we got a lot that we're talking about here, but let me just share my screen with you so that you can see we actually have a cool store up. Let's see here. Which one is it? Boy, I have so many screens up right now that if I do the wrong one, I'm going to have to go back and look at this whole thing. Anyway, yeah, because there's my, no, that's not the right store. Anyway, we'll see what we do. Is that the right one? No, hang on a second. Sorry, I don't mean to be doing this on the air. I should have had this, but I have so many darn things. Oh, there it is. There's the store. So you can buy all sorts of stuff in the store, and if you're a loyalist, you get something free in there. So you have shirts, you have chats, you have bucket hats, you got trucker hats in there. You got water bottles. There's something for everybody. And anyway, we're doing that as well. So we got tons of stuff going on in the shop today. So hit me up, john@johnlundradio.com. And you're a Lund loyalist. I will double check on that, and we will get the chat going. Plus, I owe you something out of the store for being such a loyalist. So that is very, 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 very cool. Yeah, we were having trouble. I don't know why the direct wasn't hitting me, but just hit me at john@johnlundradio.com. Do it right now if you want to, and come back and just say, hey, man, here's my email address, and I'll email everybody. We'll get a time because I've been saying this for a couple of weeks. And it's like, dude, get it done. Let's go. Please, please, please. All right, let's do roll call today. Everybody who's been in here, a bunch of people were in early today. Very, very cool. What's shaking? Hurley Bird and ode to Tolbert, who's going to be at noon. Morning, Lunders. Danny is one of those guys I got to get an email from because Danny is a Lund loyalist, and I got to make sure I hit you up. Man, that is a great scene behind you in the desert, bro. Is that new, or did you always have that? Skills, good to see you, Skills. I got your update. Hopefully everything is going lovely and well with Josie. Hopefully you can give us some good news on that. Yes, it is episode. Look how mature Walter is. It is episode 69, which is nice. I don't know if people realize, but episode 68 was Tolbert, which is, they used to call KNBR 68. So anyway, there we are. Hello, AJ Cruz. Good to see you, my friend. Good morning. Happy Hangover Monday. I did overdo it over the weekend. There's do people know of this? It was the first time. I've been to Santa Cruz a million times, but I didn't know this place. The rotating tiki bar at the end of the pier in Santa Cruz. We did that. And that, I don't know if I suggest, I mean, I liked it and we had a ton of fun and we had already eaten. So we just went there for sugary drinks, but the bar rotates. And so when you first get in there, you're like, oh man, look at this. This is cool. I'm looking at the sunset. Then all of a sudden the thing rotates around. You're like, where the hell am I? And I knew that it rotated, but it still freaked me out because we'd been drinking all day and hanging out and doing all sorts of stuff. Anyway, we got that going on. Scott, good morning. Jake, good morning to you. Mike, good morning to you. Steve, you are great. Franco, Lund. Jacobs is here today. JP for the 510. What's going on, man? Yeah, it was cool to catch up with Tommy, wasn't it? Hi, JP. Watch show you took me back to my Abe area days. Tommy's awesome, man, and I know we're going to be doing weekly stuff. We're just going to get him up and running and launched. Him and Ogden are going to be launching that whole thing. If you knew Daniel Ogden behind the scenes, when we used to do the show together on KNBR, Dan does an amazing job, and we'll keep that ship rolling. I mean, Tom's awesome, but you got people behind the scenes, and so Ogden's kind of running the show behind the scenes, so that's going to be really, really cool. Hello, John Holmes. It is very nice to see you, my friend. Christopher, good morning. Jazz fan, Daniel. We got a lot of people on the board. Enrique is here today. Very, 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 very. There's Joy. Very, 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 very cool. I think that's it today. Good morning, John. Good morning. It's very nice to see you, my friend. That's a great backdrop as well. All right, let's get to it. Hello, Keeping the Faith. Good to see you. Simon, good morning. All right, great roll call. If I did not acknowledge you, and by the way, if you're a first time or is this your first time in the room, please let me know so I can acknowledge you, put you up on the board, and say hello and introduce you to somebody. This is a great chat room. If you're new around here, we just have a lot of fun. We put sports in its proper context. We enjoy it. We don't get angry, don't get bitter. And I don't like blocking people or muting people or anything like that. So please don't make me do that because I don't want to do it. But if you're an ass, like this weekend, I got a few things over the weekend. Like I don't know, it wasn't in here. It was some Facebook. I got to be in all these different platforms. And so that opens you up to a lot more people, which is absolutely great. You love a lot of people watching the show and consuming and however they consume and everything like that. But after a while, it's like, bro. All right, so let's get to it. Episode 69, we've established that. Weekend recap. I was in Santa Cruz this weekend. Let's see, what do I recommend? The Tiki Bar was amazing. I don't even remember like when you go on a overnighter like that, we didn't really have plans or anything. We just ate. Walked around. Downtown area is really cool and eclectic. They have so many, not secondhand shops, whatever they call those shops. They got like 5 or 6. There's tons of new stuff in Santa Cruz. I hadn't ever been there in 6 months, and it was like, wow, tons of new stuff. Had a great time. I don't know if what your happy place is. Maybe it's the mountains. Maybe it's a lake. Maybe it's whatever. Maybe it's going home. Whatever the case may be, and the water. And we were just like, our hotel was right on the water, and I didn't stick my toes in the sand or anything. You can always tell out-of-towners because there was a bunch of people just like diving into the water, and you can't jump into the water in Santa Cruz in the dead of summer. I'm like, those people must be from Minnesota. Wait, Minnesota? Because I was just like, you gotta be kidding me! Like people are jumping in the water, and it was like 70 degrees and sunny down there. Don't get me wrong, it was beautiful, but my God, man. See, there's Tacky. I love it, man. My happy place is a bar. There it is. My happy place is a bar. Yeah, I've been known to have that as a happy place. Absolutely. Some people like, the golf course. I mean, it just depends. But yeah, it was great, man. It was very therapeutic. It was one of those, sometimes when you go down to Santa Cruz or that area, or if you go down to Monterey, or depending on where you go, or even up to Napa or something, sometimes the drive is quick. Sometimes it's slow. It took forever to get down there. And then we zipped home really, really quickly. And you think to yourself sometimes, like, God, it is pretty cool here. I mean, it is expensive as hell. And some things ridiculous. We know all the things. We're not getting into politics on this show if you're waiting for that. But man, being able to just kind of go and wake up and go, okay, let's go. I mean, we left at like 10 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. It was amazing. These are our good friends, the Red and Gold podcast. Make sure you check them out. They had Matt Barros on last week. Let me know, guys, if, by the way, they were trying to get Pop on, and he doesn't always get back to you. So let me know. Hit me up again, and we'll make that happen because he's got to get there. All right, let's get to this stuff, man. Far from it, my friend, but this is not a political show, and I will not make it a political show. But let's just say I'm aligned with the Eagles. Let's just put it that way. And you'd have to look that up. All right, let's get to it. We are not political. Weekend recap. Beautiful weekend. I hope everybody had a great one. Let's start with Andre Iguodala today, because I don't know why he is. Maybe outside of the Bay, he's not. Maybe I'm totally wrong, but outside of the Bay, maybe people do continue to realize and understand what he meant to this whole thing. But, as I was watching all the ceremonies last night, and Andre's just a class act, I think that Steph summarized it perfectly, because it's the same way I feel about Andre Iguodala, that I understand that none of this happens without Steph Curry, that he's number one. And I don't know if you wanted to rank them, where Clay ranks, where Steve ranks, where Joe Lacob ranks, where Bob Myers ranks, where Jerry West ranks. I mean, I don't know. I mean, everybody loves to do lists. Like I said, philosophy of mine is, I don't know. I mean, Steph is number one, and then whoever your Mount Rushmore is, however you want to rank them, those are your rankings. And I don't care about any of these rankings. I don't care if any Warriors insider ever came out with anything that said, this is how you rank the Warriors and why they were so historically successful. I mean, I put Steph number one. And then probably Joe, because he financed the whole thing. I mean, you got to kind of look at that. I don't know where Steve is. Coaches are an interesting conversation to how much a coach, like, would Mark Jackson have had this kind of success? Probably not. I think the different coaches for different times. So you get a coach who's a closer, you get a coach that's a builder, it happens in all the sports. So I don't know where Kerr is in that thing. Where's Draymond Green? I think Draymond's probably more important than Clay, but then Clay was a two-way player in his prime, and he was there last night. And where's Andre? But the thing that people forget about Andre, and this is what Steph addressed last night. So this is the Andre Iguodala jersey retirement. Here's Steph Curry. The biggest point on why, if people are debating why number 9 is in the rafters now at Chase, here's Steph Curry telling you the exact reason to me, which is number 1.
But the first thing after the horn went off, you ran across the court and you found 13. You were on the Denver Nuggets. And we were the young, scrappy Warriors who were trying to cement ourselves in the playoffs. We had the fortune of beating you that series, but the first thing after the horn went off, you ran across the court and you found me. And obviously we had a history, but that love and that message you gave me right there, I didn't know it was in the future, but I could feel something. And I could feel that you saw something. And fast forward, 4 months later, no, not even, and you were the first one to choose us. And that meant the world for a team that was trying to figure it out.
Yeah, so not enough people, especially nationally, not enough people realize that. And it was it wasn't, I'm not going to say it was like the Durant, but what I'm saying is the timing was, because in both situations, when Durant signed with the Warriors in 17 and Iguodala signed with the Warriors in 14, both times happened around July 4th, because I remember I was on vacation. My folks have a cabin, and we were out on a boat, and I was trying to get a signal because I'm like, Andre Iguodala is going to go to the Warriors. And I remember that time he did sprint over there. And remember, they beat the Warriors, and George Karl was the coach of the year, and George Karl got fired. And there was a little bit of animosity in that series. But that was the first time that you really believed, at least I did as a fan and a media member, that they were something, that if they just kept this thing together. And there was always discussions about, Clay's going to leave and Kevin Love is going to come in, and they signed DeAndre Jordan to that offer sheet, and thank God the Clippers matched it, because all these things kind of had to happen. That's what I mean when I say, who do you give the credit to in order for the Warriors? It's really hard. I think it obviously starts with Steph, and then it goes to Joe Lacob because he spent all the money. But where's Bob Myers in that? Where's Jerry West in advising them? Where's, I think Draymond Green is way up there because he's so unique, but so is Clay, because Clay's just wasn't just a jump shooter in that time and took all the pressure off Steph. The minute they traded Monte Ellis and they got the size in the backcourt so that Steph Curry didn't have to deal with that, and they were undersized in the backcourt. So it was all these pieces kind of going in a row. And for someone to try to decipher with a fine-tooth comb of what won, I just know Steph was number one. But the thing that is vastly underrated for Andre Iguodala, and you have to tell me, hit me up in the chat room. Let's do this at John Lund Radio on all my social media. You can hit me up in your thoughts on this whole thing. But I would even say he's criminally underrated just because, as you saw right there, he was the first one to choose the Warriors, and he chose them right after that series, and he knew he was a free agent. And it took some doing and some chess pieces and some trades and some other teams getting involved to take on some monies and all those kind of things. But Andre Iguodala became a member of the Warriors. It was the first one, if you're a younger part of the demographic. Nobody wanted to play for the Warriors. Nobody wanted to play for the Warriors. Nobody wanted to. And Andre Iguodala saw it. He said, these young guys, they're the next. He saw it. Maybe even before anybody else saw it, but he saw it from, I can say this with a lot of confidence, from the outside, he was the first one to see it. And he said, look, I could make more money in Sacramento. I could go back to Denver, which was kind of a sinking ship at the time. That's what I mean. George Karl got fired after that season, even though he was the coach of the year. He knew that they were going in the right direction, but he saw Steph Curry and the way that they played, and Draymond Green, and he had so much respect for everybody. They said, I want to play for that team. And then remember, he was a starter at that point of his career. And then he said, all right, he was mature enough and understood it, and he could sit on the bench and watch and say, what does the team need? Now, could he give you on a consistent basis 25 a night? No. But he could give you defense. He could give you ball handling. He could give you maturity. He could give an adult in the room. There was just so many different things. He could guard in multiple positions, ball handling. But a lot of times it was a young team who hadn't won. And as you can see right there, everybody looks at Andre, even a Draymond Green, with the utmost of respect. And Draymond doesn't respect a whole lot of people, but he respected Andre Iguodala. And it was when you say glue guy, he really was the guy that just went and just bonded. Bonded everybody together. So do the Warriors win what they win without Andre Iguodala? I don't think so. Now, obviously, the obvious is, do they win it without Steph Curry? Hell no, they don't. Do they win it without Draymond Green? That's debatable to me. And this is maybe if you did put it in order, you'd start thinking about it, because I don't know, the Bulls had like a Harvey Grant, you know what I mean? Or Horace Grant, excuse me. His twin brother was Harvey, had a Horace Grant who did all the dirty work. You have to have somebody that is willing to say fine, like an offensive lineman in football, fine, or a fullback or something like that. Okay, I won't score all the points. I'll do the dirty work. I'll play defense. I'll rebound. I'll do that. That was Andre Iguodala, but that was also Draymond Green that said, look, I'll do all these things. And Draymond added the way that he could affect the game offensively, but Andre could do those same things. He could run the offense through. So that's why they were so effective, because everybody had these specialized roles that were amazing. We knew what Clay would do. Touch and shoot, man. He didn't need a whole lot. Then he was going to defend on the perimeter. He could defend 2s and 3s. You could hide Steph Curry a little bit, especially when he was thinner. Then he got bigger, and there was really not a lot you could do. Draymond could do so many things offensively and defensively. Yeah, he couldn't shoot. I understand that. He went to a bunch of grief. Hey, he's got a triple single, but you don't understand the game if you didn't see the impact of Draymond Green. But I do wonder if, they could have had another workman-like power forward. Could they have done some of those things? But there's the emotional side of Draymond too. But Andre Iguodala just kind of pulled everything together. When there was moments of panic, he was the adult in the room. He was in the finishing 5, just complete glue guy. And nothing seemed to ruffle him or rattle him. Even though, before he came to the Warriors, it wasn't like he was this championship grizzled veteran who could walk in the room and be like, hey, I've got 5 of these rings. Just follow me. He just had that natural ability. And you can see it even now. Steph Curry, for all he's accomplished, and Steph Curry is certainly part of the NBA's OG. I mean, he's in his age 37 season. But if Andre Iguodala walks in the room, it's kind of like your parents, No matter how old you get, your mom is your mom, your dad is your dad. And when they walk in the room, you kind of assume a certain role, which is I'm the son or daughter, right? You just walk in and you're like, okay, those are my parents. I mean, they're not going to scream at you like you're 5 years old, although my mom occasionally will. But you just assume a certain role. So Steph looks at Andre. Andre's in the room, and Steph Curry's that young guy again. And so's Draymond Green, and so everybody. But if you don't understand, I guess my whole point in saying this is, if you don't understand the impact of Andre Iguodala, and so many people have and all these different platforms hit me up and go, I don't understand, why is 9 in the rafters? And they just purely look at the statistics. We didn't score that much. You didn't do this. You didn't do this. You didn't do that. Then you didn't watch. You didn't live it. You didn't see it. You don't understand the game. That's just, I mean, it's as really as simple as that. Is there are certain things, and this is why analytics are great. They really are, but they're certainly not perfect because everybody goes by these numbers. And there's certain things that I've got a philosophy, and I talk about philosophies all the time on the show if you're new. And I said, just a big philosophy of mine in evaluating players is watch the damn game. I'm very fond of the phrase, watch the damn game, because if you watch the damn game, you'd see the impact of Andre Iguodala. And we talk about Hall of Fame and different things where players get individual accolades. And I know this isn't a Hall of Fame thing for Andre Iguodala. And believe me, because basketball, it's not the NBA Hall of Fame, it's the Basketball Hall of Fame. And because of what he's done internationally, University of Arizona, and with the Warriors and the kind of career he had, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. You just have to watch the damn game because everybody can't be a scorer. Everybody can't have the ball in their hands. I've told this story before. Bob Whitsitt was the general manager of the Portland Trailblazers when I was there years and years and years and years and years ago. And some of these names aren't going to mean anything to you, but they were really good players at the time. But he had acquired Scottie Pippen and Steve Smith and Arvydas Sabonis and Jermaine O'Neal and Dale Davis and Rod Strickland and Greg Anthony and just a number of different guys, Stacey Ogman. I mean, they had an embarrassment of riches that were 3 deep in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s. Rasheed Wallace, all these guys in the same team. I mean, 1 to 12, they were the deepest and best team in the NBA, but they didn't ever win a championship because they had no chemistry. You know, Damon Stoudemire was on those teams. They had no chemistry whatsoever. They're just a bunch of guys, and they just all wanted the ball. They all wanted the spotlight. They all, all these kind of things. Sabonis didn't. But a lot of these guys, they didn't understand how to play a role. And especially in basketball where you look at, okay, the 5 guys on the court fit. That's why, like, a lot of times the guy, you go, like, I won't come off the bench. You know, why do you think Carmelo Anthony never won? Did you ever see any of those press conferences with Carmelo Anthony? And he was getting near the end of his career. And I think it was OKC. And somebody said, would you be okay coming off the bench? He kind of looked at the reporter and he was like, me? Carmelo Anthony? Off the bench? Like, you don't get it. Like, especially at that point of your career, like, it's just ego. And there's a chemistry involved in winning in any sport, but especially in the NBA where you say, look, everybody's got to have a role. And that's where, and we're really early and we can transition into this Jimmy Butler where it says Dubs longer on the board. I need a little bit longer is what that means from the Dubs, but they look really good. And Jimmy Butler, even though, again, statistically, and I haven't paid attention to what Andrew Wiggins is doing, their statistics may be similar, he and Andrew Wiggins, but they couldn't be more different in terms of what the Warriors needed. You know, Jimmy Butler brings a toughness. He brings a grit. He gets to the free throw line. Like, I'll flash up on the board just a second, the box score from last night. But the Warriors didn't have anybody who could get to the line, who the team's struggling from the field. And all of a sudden, Jimmy Butler, a couple of possessions, puts down a couple of free throws or goes to the free throw line, like 2 straight possessions. Everybody settles down, like that 10-0 run where they just can't hit a shot and they're jacking. And all of a sudden, Jimmy Butler gets into the lane, realizes that the team is kind of struggling from the field, gets in the lane, gets a couple of free throws to go down. Everybody kind of settles down a little bit. So what I'm seeing, and we've seen Jimmy Butler for years, but he does have a little bit of an element of Andre Iguodala, as weird as that sounds. He can be crazy and wild and all those kind of things. And he can act like an ass like he did in Miami, but he can also settle things down. And he's a winner, and he's like Draymond Green. And so you get a lot of those guys. He's emotional, but he can settle down, it seems like, a little bit more. So look, what are they, 4-1 with him? So I'm not going to freak out and say they're great. But I said this right when the trade was made. I thought to myself, okay, could they be a team, though, that walks into an arena in the playoffs? And this is ultimately how this team is judged by the fans. As long as Curry's around, as long as Kerr's around, as long as Draymond's around, this team will not be judged in the regular season. It'll be judged in the playoffs, and that's a successful or failed season. That's just how it is. So are they going to walk into an arena against a young team in Memphis or Houston or OKC, and can they win that because the other team looks at them and says, uh-oh. They get down one game, and they're like, damn, they got a lot of veteran guys who have won rings there before, man. We don't like this situation. So, yeah, they're off to that kind of a start. So Andre kind of reminded me of Jimmy Butler a little bit. So there you go. So anyway, wanted to play that Steph Curry for you. I thought that was number one reason why 9 is hanging in the rafters, because he started it. He said what nobody else would say in that era. I want to play for the Warriors. And I bet that at the time the Warriors were like, what? We never hear that. Like, you want to play here. But he saw it. And that was the start of everything. So we all know, if you watched any of that era, just how important he was. So from the outside, people are going to look at stats and analytics and points per game and all these different things and say there's no way 9 deserves to be up there. And somehow he's just riding coattails into doing that because he was on the team. And that's just not true. The NBA Finals MVP was a huge thing, but it's just all of those things starting with, I want to be here. Because if Andre Iguodala doesn't say, I want to be here, I don't know what comes from that. Maybe they just win without him. Maybe that's the case, but they don't win that first finals without him. So there's my thoughts on that. Give me your thoughts on Andre Iguodala. It was a cool ceremony. The Warriors, all the teams around here in the Bay Area, if you're watching outside of the Bay Area, you can rip the Giants all you want. They do ceremonies as good as anybody in bringing guys back. The Niners the same. The Warriors the same. They all do first-class stuff. And that was cool seeing that last night. So there you go. Let me just take a check. Make sure. Oh, the Skills have another dream. Skill says, I'm going to be a fan of Butler. He's done too much, but I'm glad he's making Golden State better. Yeah, it's interesting how fans and how we all think of it like that. Like when he was going through that thing. But see, the thing about it with Jimmy Butler is concerned is and again, I'm speaking for fans and I could be wrong. He didn't do it to my team, right? I mean, I don't own the Warriors, but that's what I thought is he didn't do it on my team. And B, I'm going to tell you a story about Matthew Stafford, as you can see there, Stafford LV in the middle of the chalkboard. I'm not to that yet, but everything's about money. If you watch the show on a regular basis, listen to the show on Apple and Spotify, everything is about money. Not sometimes, not maybe, not 10% of the time, 20% of the time, 100% of the time, it's about money. And so Jimmy Butler was told, and Pat Riley doesn't make very many mistakes, that Pat Riley said before the season, hey, Jimmy, we're not going to extend you. Let's see what you got. So a guy at the age of 35, he says, you haven't proven enough. A guy who has taken the Heat to the NBA Finals from the play-in, a guy who has played really hard and made the Heat his team and really developed that whole thing called Heat culture. A lot of that was Jimmy Butler. I'm not saying he was their Steph Curry because Jimmy was drafted by the Bulls, went to Minnesota, went to Philadelphia, finally went to Miami. It's not like that kind of a situation. But he was a big part of what the Heat did. And so all of a sudden, Pat Riley announces before the season as some sort of a motivator, like, we're not going to extend Jimmy Butler. And so you know how players think nowadays. It's like, okay, then I want out. Like, you're going to disrespect me publicly. And I'm not saying this is right. And I'm not saying the way that he acted in Miami was right. It was childish. It was ridiculous. It was stupid. You wasted an entire season for the Miami Heat, for their fans, for the players that you played with. You threw a tantrum until you got your extension. And I told you at the beginning of the season with Jimmy Butler, when he wasn't even on the Warriors' radar, and we talk a lot of national stuff. We talk about whatever we want, whatever is compelling and enjoyable to everybody. I try. But with Jimmy Butler, I told you from day one, this isn't about extension. This isn't about Jimmy Butler wanting to win a championship at 35 to somehow cement a legacy. He's not Steph Curry. He's not that kind of a guy. He's not Kevin Durant. He's a really nice player, but he's not that guy that, he's cementing legacies. He wants to get an extension at the age of 35, and the Warriors gave him one. It's the only reason he's here. It doesn't mean he doesn't want to win and play hard. That's a great side dish. But the entree, the steak, the filet, the center cut for Jimmy Butler was the money. He came here for the money. He doesn't come here because he likes us. It's not how it works. He's being paid by the Warriors to come here. He didn't come here because he wanted to. We've said this before. A week before, he said, I'm not coming there because Phoenix had an extension for him but didn't have a trade. The Warriors had a trade, didn't have an extension. And the minute they said extension, Jimmy Butler said, I'm listening. Okay, good to go. That's how it happened. That's how it always happened. So I'm going to go to Stafford a little bit later, and the same thing that's happening with Stafford and the Rams. But especially at that age, I'm getting paid one more time. Like Stafford, 36, 37. Exact same boat. Look, I'm sure he loves LA and all those kind of things, but he wants to get paid, and Jimmy Butler wanted to get paid. So I don't want to get into this whole thing about Jimmy and getting paid, but let me do this because I did Andre. Let's do Dubs longer, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this, of how much confidence you have in the Warriors right now. So let me jump the box score up here and let you just take a look at the box from last night, because This is impressive, rather impressive. There you go. I'm not bagging on Clay, but they let Clay go at the right time. 11 points, 3 of 8, 3 of 7. He's not doing anything very spectacular, and he's not the defender he once was. I love that Moses Moody is in the starting lineup. He is the guy that will go when Jonathan Kuminga comes back, but I just hope that he still stays in the rotation. So 27 minutes out of Moody. He just always seems to do the right thing. Jimmy Butler, 5 of 9. But again, every time you look at the Warriors box, just look at the amount of times he goes to the line, 8 of 8. And what that does is it gives an older team a little bit of rest. It allows them at times to reset their rhythm. If they've missed a couple of shots in a row, normally it's like, well, we can't get to the line to reset this thing. What do we do? Well, Jimmy Butler just goes inside, draws some contact, gets a call, and everybody gets to relax from it. Like, take a deep breath. It's okay. All of a sudden, the Warriors start hitting some shots. That's a massive thing that nobody talks about. Just the fact that Jimmy can get to the line. I'm not going to say whenever he wants. He's not James Harden, but he can get to the line a lot more than any Warrior has in a really, really long time. So 8 of 8 from the free throw line is Jimmy. 18 points. Nice job in 28 minutes. Draymond Green had a nice game last night. Plus 19, 13.6 assists. Brandon Podziemski is playing much, much better since his return and since Jimmy Butler arrived. That's a huge thing. 7 of 15. He has 17 points. Steph is Steph. What do you say? 12 of 20 with Andre in the building for 30 points. And as I look at the bench, it's okay. When Kuminga comes back, Moody probably goes to the bench, and that gives him a little bit more from the bench. But we've talked about this all season long. Hield is hit and miss. They're trying to get Santos and Post going. Hopefully they just added Knox. So we'll see. And then, of course, TJD is hurt. So anyway, nice win, 33-18 in the first quarter, as you can see. I'm sure a lot of that had to do with the emotion of Andre Iguodala being in the building. So there's that. And then let me just throw this up there for you. We'll finish up our Warriors conversation and get to a ton of other things that we got to get to today. But let me just give you the standings here. Boom. There's your standings. Again, you're not going to get up to your goal here is 6. So now they've moved up to 9. They beat the Kings coming out. They beat Dallas, which they were supposed to do, revenge that loss. So now they're getting close on Dallas. Dallas still doesn't have Anthony Davis back. Minnesota's a little bit of a mess. They're 4 and 6 in their last 10, as you can see. I expect them to jump Dallas with their injuries. Jump Minnesota. They're not very good. San Antonio lost Wembanyama. So you can put them down with the Spurs, Jazz, and Pelicans. Suns below 500. That would take a miracle for them. They could get into the play-in, I guess, and then you wouldn't want to play them if you had to be in the play-in, just because Booker and Durant could get very, very hot. But they don't scare me very much. Your eyes should be on the Clippers at 6. That would be it. And the Rockets are starting to kind of they're 3 and 7 in their last 10, so they are very catchable. So with 27 losses, you see right there, 3 teams tied at 27 losses, but the Clippers only 2 ahead. And the Rockets are, quite a bit up there, but they are starting to kind of flail a little bit themselves. And then the Lakers, it's just so funny because Luka got after this really slow start, and it's just so laughable and predictable because we have such a fast news cycle, and he's averaging 14 a game and he's shooting 36%. And then it's like, all of a sudden he's starting to play well, and people are like, oh, okay. So I wouldn't want to play the Lakers. I wouldn't want to play the Nuggets. As far as playoff teams in the Western Conference, nobody outside of them really scare me. Oklahoma City's going to be good in the playoffs, but they're an 82-game team, so we'll see what they do in the playoffs, but they're young. So they sit at 9. They've got to get to 6. That's absolutely doable for the Warriors. So there's a quick look at what the standings look like in the NBA at this particular point. So the chalkboard right there, episode 69, weekend recap. Beautiful day, beautiful weekend in Santa Cruz. Andre Iguodala, criminally, I tell you, underrated. Need more from the Dubs. I love the Jimmy Butler addition. It certainly looks like, from a chess piece and a chemistry piece, which I just explained, he is really a perfect fit. But some of my concerns are still valid. I don't think through that 4 games, even though it's been longer because it's the All-Star break, so it feels like it's longer that the Warriors have had Jimmy Butler. But the concern still of whose team is it going to be, and are he and Draymond, are they going to blow up at any point? Or, if it's the end of game and somebody misses, or if they go through a 3-game losing streak, what is Jimmy Butler going to be like? Because, look, we can all get along, and you can relate this to life. When life's going great, it's easy, right? Everybody's cool. You're not mad at anybody. Same with business. Sales are great. Everybody's fun. Everybody's having a great time. So the adversity is when it shows. the Warriors will go through some sort of adversity. Somebody's going to get hurt beyond Jonathan Kuminga. Steph could get hurt, sprain an ankle, whatever the case may be. I don't want to talk it into existence, but there's going to be some sort of strife between now and the end of the season. And then we'll see. Because when things are cruising along, love Jimmy, love Draymond. We love each other. Andre just got his jersey retired. This is awesome. We've won 4 out of 5. The only one being that game in Dallas, which is really weird. But everything's great. So I just want to see when adversity hits, what will they be? How will Jimmy react? How will Draymond react? Will those two still? Because I still think there's this with Jimmy and Draymond, but, Jimmy just got an extension. He's happy. They're winning games. He's happy. They're winning games. Draymond's happy. All these things are going good with the Warriors. Is there adversity? Of course. There's going to be adversity between now and the end of the season. It's not going to be just like, and I was listening to, I think it was The Ringer. I think it was Bill Simmons, and he was like, whoa, Warriors going to be a dark horse in the West. Warriors going to be a dark horse in the West. I see that. I can see that with this team. But they're going to hit some adversity. There's going to be an injury. There's going to be getting Jonathan Kuminga back in this whole thing. Can Kuminga realize that, look, Butler's here now? Wiggins was kind of a, hey, if you want me to sit in the back seat, Wiggins was that kind of a guy. If you want me to sit in the back seat, I'm cool with that. That's not Jimmy Butler. And if Jonathan Kuminga is not playing well or makes some stupid move, Jimmy Butler's going to get on him. And is Jonathan Kuminga go, you just got here, bro. But Jimmy Butler's accomplished a lot in this league. So there's still some bumps to be had. It's encouraging, I would say, to start. I'm certainly not a negative person by nature. I'm very, very positive by nature. But the 4-1 start is great. It's all we have to go on. I talk about this all the time. Other people will say, well, let's just see. Yeah, let's just see on Jimmy Butler. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't have time to say, let's just see. Because we do a show every day, right? And we do multiple shows every day. So as far as I can see and can tell, this is a really good start for the Warriors. And if I'm one of those younger teams, Memphis, OKC, Houston, who's starting to kind of come back down to earth after this good season they've had so far, I don't want to see those guys walking into my arena. And if they win game 1 walking into my arena, I'm like, oh, damn. Uh-oh. If they can get to 6. Because I talked to a bunch of people over the weekend. If they have to play in the play-in, I think all bets are off. But if they are a team that can get in and get that 6 seed, they're gonna be scary. There's no doubt. All right, so that's the Dubs longer. One thing, I guess I'll wait till I go to Tom today at the bottom. So let's just do this. Let me check in because we're going to move away from the Warriors. And we're going to do 3 from the Giants this weekend. And this is another thing. I tell you this all the time. I get really excited about the beginning of spring training. And then there's kind of a lull during spring training where I go, So at the beginning, it's not that I'm not paying attention all the time, but I'm going to give you my annual spring training warning. And then I'm going to give you 3 from the Giants. We're going to get into baseball. So anything else on Andre or the Warriors, or how you're feeling about the Warriors, or the start they're off to with Jimmy Butler, or how excited you are, or anything like that. Let's see. Warriors are the guys you go home and yep. Let's see. What else do we got? Let's see here. Anything else? Hi, Folsom Steve. Good to see you, my friend. Again, make sure that if you're new to the room, hi, Bucko Sports. Hadn't said hello to you today, J49. If you're new to the room, don't be shy. Jump on, say hello. I want to make sure I put you up on the board here and say hello and welcome you to everything. Kuminga needs to figure it out. Yeah, Kuminga's going to be interesting, putting him back in there, because if I'm the Warriors, here's the thing, too. We keep forgetting about it, and it's not something to talk about really right now. But, they're going to have to pay Kuminga at some point. And I know that a lot of times, and Steve Kerr comes from this thought process, hey, things are going really good right now. I don't know that we're going to start Jonathan Kuminga. He's really big into his rotations. This is what we do from a rotational standpoint. And Moses Moody has done nothing to get himself out of a starting role, let alone the rotation. But that just kind of seems to be the thing with him. So hopefully, maybe they just keep doing it and they bring Kuminga off the bench. I don't know. But to me, Kuminga he's one of your best players. He's young. He's got to figure it out. You got to get him back in here incorporated, and you got to do it as fast as you can, because, we're coming down on about 25 games. February always goes so fast. Today's the 24th. And we're not in a leap year, right? So, there's 4 days left in the month. And then all of a sudden, March, April. You got March 1 hits, you're 6 weeks, and then you're hitting the playoffs. So, Kuminga's supposed to come back at some point. And to me, Kuminga's one of your 5 best players. So, Kuminga's got to start. And I love Moses Moody, but it's like this guy's got to come in, learn how to play with Jimmy Butler, and let's go. Like, figure everything out. Because if you are going to be the scary team you think you're going to be, I got to believe that Jonathan Kuminga is going to play at a really high level. And then in addition to that, it's like, okay, what are we paying this guy? What are we paying a 21, 22-year-old guy? We got to figure out what this guy is, and everybody can play together. And so that's really the only thing for me, is making sure that that those guys can all play together. Oh yeah, let me do this before we get out of there. I was going to hit right to some Giants, but I had a Steve Kerr I wanted to cut for you, or I wanted to play for you, and Steve's very excited. Here's Steve on what Jimmy Butler has given the Warriors to this point.
We felt it. We were kind of treading water. We couldn't get any traction, and in the season, and Mike sensed it and made the move, and you could feel the shift. Sometimes you got to shake things up, and we shook things up, and just so happened that.
No, is that it? Hold on a second. Well, that's good enough. You get the gist of it. That's the gist of what Steve said. And I don't know that he's breaking any news right there, but again, I haven't looked at what Andrew Wiggins is doing, but it's just a vibe. It's just a chemistry thing. It's an energy thing. It's an accountability thing. It's, like I said, the most underrated thing about Jimmy Butler, and he's not a better individual defender, but he gives effort. He holds others accountable. He understands the game. He does have an Andre Iguodala vibe about him, and that is he's playing in the game. He's got a very high basketball IQ, so he's thinking to himself, okay, what needs to be done here? He's just a winner. And so you look and he says, okay, we need to stop, or I need to get to the free throw line to stop, the struggles, or, whatever the case may be, or this guy is not going to score on me. Like individual, possession to possession, Wiggins is probably a better defender overall. But if you said the game's on the line, who do you want on the court? You'd say Jimmy Butler, just because Jimmy Butler's going to scratch and claw and just do whatever it takes because he's done it before. So he's a winning player, and that's what it takes. And that's why I keep saying that this is not guaranteed, and they are going to go through adversity. Mark my words, on Monday, February 24th, 2025, they're going to go through adversity. This is not going to just be an easy road and everything's great and Jimmy comes aboard. It's not that way. That's not the way sports work. It's not the way life works. All of a sudden you're cruising along, right? Everything's great. All of a sudden here comes the storm and your boat gets capsized. And you're like, man, just when I thought things were going great. Life is this series of small victories, and all of a sudden they just, adversity time. It's going to happen. There's going to be an injury. There's going to be something that's going to happen, and we're going to really see what these guys are, and then be able. And that's the whole thing in life, right? You don't know who you are till adversity strikes. So when something happens with these Warriors, and Kuminga might be that kind of a thing, and I don't mean that in a negative sense. It's just, okay, we've got to layer in somebody now. We've got to layer in Jonathan Kuminga, and that's not a bad thing. It's just that things have been rolling. But Jemski's rolling, Moody's going. Like all of a sudden, you bring in Jimmy, ship's going, things are going. Then all of a sudden, Kuminga's a big piece. And I think to get where you're going, you got to have Jonathan Kuminga. So you got to layer him in. As how does he fit? And how does the chemistry work? And he comes in. So we'll see. And he's a young guy, so it's not automatic. All right, there's your Warriors stuff. I keep saying I'm going to do away with Warriors stuff. From the weekend, as far as the Giants are concerned, let me see if I have any stuff to lay on you here for the Giants stuff. No, I don't have any Giants stuff for you today. 3 guys from the weekend for the Giants, and I think you would agree that these were the stories. And I'm not going to do spring training every day. I've got the annual ST warning, which is spring training, and 3 from the Giants reverse. I'm going to flip that on the chalkboard if you're watching. Now, if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, you're like, what are you talking about? So on the board there, on the chalkboard, we have the 3 from the Giants and annual spring training warning. Let me start with annual spring training warning, because what happens with people is, and I'm guilty of it too, they'll see Bryce Eldridge hit a home run, and they'll say, oh my God, he's got to make the opening day roster. Look at what he did, and he got an opposite field single. I don't know who he's going up against. I don't know if that pitcher, even if it's a pitcher that is accomplished, what's that pitcher working on? Is he throwing just breaking stuff? Is he just throwing straight fastballs? Is he just trying to get work in? So you've got to understand, or you don't, and you can do whatever you want, but I'm just telling you, this is how spring training works, is that there's going to be certain guys out there who are just trying to get in work, straight fastball after straight fastball after straight fastball. There's no game planning as far as that goes. Like, okay, now let's look at the chart and see who you're facing today and how they would do it in a regular season game. Because in a regular season game, they would sit down with the pitching coach and the catcher and everybody, and they would all huddle up and they'd say, okay, here's the lineup you're going up against, and this guy's hot, and this is where you pitch this guy, and this is they go over a whole scouting report with everybody. It doesn't happen in spring training. In spring training, it's all about you. So Logan Webb goes to the mound, and it's like, Logan, you're going to throw 50 pitches today. You're going to throw 35 fastballs. You're going to work on this pitch, work on that pitch. So it's not like that. So when you see a guy hit a home run and you think to yourself, well, clearly it's just like the regular season, right? A guy hits a home run. Well, maybe it's just that guy's just throwing fastballs and you hit a home run. Or maybe, you know what, you hit a mistake. Or maybe it was just a legit home run, but you just don't know. And maybe I was going to say, maybe you're going against number 97, but nowadays everybody wears every number, so you don't know. But you know what I'm talking about. Number 97 is going to be an A ball this year. So I don't know who you hit it off of. I don't know what the guy's working on. Even if it's a name guy, I don't know what he's working on. And then as far as the hitters are concerned, you know, maybe that guy's working on something. Maybe he's trying to go to oppo. Maybe he's trying to go up the middle. Maybe he's just so spring training is great. But what guys are trying to do is they're trying to get work in. So there's not a scouting report. What's this guy like? Keep it down and away on this guy. Keep it this, keep it that. Like there was a little bit of that, but they're not going over scouting reports like they do during the regular season. They're not working on the opposition. They're working on themselves. Hey, Logan, you're doing 40 pitches today. This is what you're doing. You're going 25 fastballs. So, the guy might know what's coming. So the annual spring training is maybe it means something. I know this sounds really weird. But maybe it means something and maybe it means nothing. And you're like, Lund, you're such an idiot. What are you talking about? Of course, it's got to be one or the other. So what I'm saying is don't get too hyped when a guy like Bryce Eldridge gets off to the start. And I know because I got the whatever platform you want to reach me on, I got all this stuff. Can Bryce Eldridge make the team? I don't know. Like we'll have people on this week from spring training. We'll ask the insiders that know, but it might just be a plan that no matter what. And the thing about service time and everything, that is largely a thing of the past. The teams just aren't doing that anymore. So if Bryce Eldridge is the best player at the position, then Bryce Eldridge could make this team. I don't think there's any question, and they could possibly trade Lamont Wade Jr. because he doesn't make a ton of money. As a thinking man, a 20-year-old, he'd have to hit like 700. But the Giants know who he's going up against. And then later in spring training, they'll start working on some scouting report stuff just to get a practice at those kind of things. But right now, and certainly for the first few weeks or month of spring training, there's none of that. There's no game planning for the opposition. There's none of that stuff. It's you getting in work. That's what it is. Pitchers are trying to get in work. Hitters are getting in work. They watch you. Okay, I want you to work on this in the game today. You're going oppo. You're doing this. You're going up the middle. Pitching-wise, you're throwing fastballs. You're working on this certain pitch. There's a certain pitch that a guy's been working on. Well, if he's been working on it the entire offseason, then he's got to throw it in spring training. And in a normal regular season game, he's not going to be testing a pitch like he is in spring training. So, I wouldn't get on either end of the spectrum. If a guy's red hot, awesome. We've seen red hot guys go into the regular season, make a team, and stink. We've seen guys hit 100 way under the Mendoza line in spring training, and then they come out red hot because what do they tell you? I've heard this from Will Clark. Don't leave all your hits in spring training. They don't want to do too much. And these guys come into shape anyway. So they're working on a lot of different things. Justin Verlander today is pitching, right? It's not going to sway me one way or the other, even though I'm skeptical of a 42-year-old coming off a neck issue. As much of a Superman as Justin Verlander has been in his career and as great of a name as it is that they signed him, they didn't sign him for super cheap. He got signed for $15 million. So there's a bit of an expectation level there. But I want to see what Justin Verlander does. But at 42, Justin Verlander probably today is just going to be, his arm is probably in pretty good shape. He knows what he's doing in the offseason. But I bet, just as a betting man, I don't know, if Verlander throws 35 to 40 pitches today, I bet that 90% of them are fastballs. He's just trying to get his work in, trying to throw some darts, trying to get, okay, then next start we'll do this. There's a whole process to this whole thing. So if Justin Verlander gives up 5 home runs to 5 guys who are going to be an A-ball that you've never heard of before, it's because he's essentially throwing batting practice today to get warmed up. So I wouldn't worry about it in a negative sense. I wouldn't worry about it in a positive sense. So that is my annual spring training warning. Whoever is hot, who's ever cold, who's ever good, who's ever not. The only thing I would suggest from spring training, and I do this every single year, go. Like if you've got, especially if you have kids, like you can get access to players. I know it's not as cheap as it used to be, but it's fun. It's a throwback. It's just cool. And Scottsdale this time of year, I think my son says it's going to be 88 midweek. Like go get some sun. Like I can tell you, somebody who just got some sun over the weekend was like, oh, Like, I think it's raining again today. It was just beautiful. So I know, and I don't know what flights are costing. I don't know what you're doing, but going down to spring training is awesome if you've never done it. I mean, it's just, and all the, a lot of the teams are within, not walking distance, but driving distance from Scottsdale Stadium. So you can go all over the place, see all sorts of different players. It's amazing. Go take 3 or 4 days. You deserve it. It's incredible. But anyway, annual spring training warning. Don't get all caught up in who's doing what. Negatively or positively, they're getting work in. They're getting work in. It reminds me of training camp, and I love deeply a deep appreciation and love for all of the beat writers and people who cover the Niners on a regular basis. They're incredible. They're awesome. And they're forced to do this, and they hate it. They keep training camp stats. Brock Purdy today in practice was 11 of 14 with an interception. You know that the defense knew every play that they were running, right? And Fred Warner got sick of it and finally picked off a pass. Like, that's it. It doesn't mean anything. Brock Purdy threw 4 interceptions in training camp this year. Should we be concerned? It's like, yeah, okay. Justin Verlander gave up 5 earned runs and 3 home runs to 3 guys you never heard of. Oh, my God. Yeah, go back and look. Just all you got to do is ask. Like, ask Bob Melvin after the game, what was Verlander working on? And he'll tell you. Or he'll tell you, yeah, he hung a couple of pitches. It's nothing to be concerned about. A long way until opening day. So I wouldn't worry about it. Now, okay, having said that, all right, Lund, we get it. You gave us 10 minutes of annual spring training warning. You're not letting us have any fun. No. I don't. That's not true. Because this is what everybody wants to talk about. Bryce Eldridge bombs a home run in his first at bat, gets an opposite field single his next at bat. I don't know what the thought process is for the Giants. It might be that, Bryce Eldridge has just got to get more minor league at bats. My philosophy would be, and these guys can tell what I just gave you with the spring training warning. These guys can tell what's real and what's not. So because everybody thinks this, hey, player X hit 538 in spring with 4 home runs, he's got to make the team. It's a pretty sorry, I didn't itch on my ear. It's a pretty small sample size. It's a pretty small sample size with even a Bryce Eldridge. So at the age of 20, is there a likelihood he makes the team? Probably not. Go to AAA, get a few more at bats in, all those kind of things. But having said that, the Giants are pretty aggressive in bringing guys through the system. I'm not a believer, you might be, in wrecking confidence. Bryce Eldridge doesn't strike me as a guy who's going to lack confidence, but a lot of people think, well, kind of like the quarterbacks, and I do say this, so maybe this is a contradiction in terms for me, is for quarterbacks, I think they can lose confidence, and then I think it's really hard to rebuild. And I look at Sam Darnold and a number of different guys. I was in Detroit when Joey Harrington was there, totally lost his confidence. I think Daniel Jones is a big-time bounce-back candidate because Daniel Jones was in New York, got beat up. I just think he gets out of the spotlight for a year, kind of like Darnold did with the 49ers, regains his confidence. It's a massive part of sports. Confidence is everything. Not everything. You got to have some physical traits, obviously, but it's huge. So if they brought up Bryce Eldridge and he got into this whole thing like Holiday with the Orioles last year, and, what he hit like 091, struck out like 80% of his at-bats. They put him down to the minors. Now I saw the kid this year. He looks like the Incredible Hulk. Like, I don't know that it works that way. So if you think a guy is ready, they've got Lamont Wade Jr. They like Lamont Wade Jr., maybe not a ton, but to me, we talked about it all offseason. If Pete Alonso or whomever the case may be, you needed that first baseman. They've obviously got a ton of confidence in Bryce Eldridge and what he brings to the table. And the one thing I was thinking after he hit that home run and knew that we would be talking about Bryce Eldridge today, not now. I mean, it would be nice if it was now, but they need this kid to come through. It's an immense amount of pressure on the kid's shoulders. And I don't know if he feels it or not or understands it or not, but let's just say for the sake of conversation, Bryce Eldridge is what the clippings say he's going to be. And there's no doubt that they're pretty high up. And I'm skeptical. I call prospects lottery tickets because that's what they are. And we talk about this all the time. In the first round of the NFL draft, it's 50-50. Baseball guys, you're taking kids a lot of times out of high school. And Eldridge was a two-way player coming out and 6'7". So there's a lot of levers, a lot of movement in that swing. And it's a beautiful left-handed swing. And all you see is home runs. And so you think, oh, is this going to be the next great this, that, or the other? And I'm sure he's got things to work on, holes in his swing. There always is when you're that tall, like the up and in stuff maybe. So it's difficult. But even as good as Bryce Eldridge is, I would say it's 30-70 against, just because that's what the odds are. That's what Vegas would say is how of Bryce Eldridge being all that, just great. 30 home runs, 100 RBIs, something that the Giants have not produced from their farm system. I'm not talking about Barry Bonds. I'm saying somebody from their farm system that is that. And Ramos, by the way, I guess is having some oblique issues, which is like, because you hate that. And I'm not being down on Ramos, but when we talk about the ifs with the Giants and we say if, and we look at Ramos, and I ask, is he going to be second half Ramos, which wasn't great, or first half Ramos, which was an all-star and very encouraging because he's a guy that they produced out of their system. And if he can be this year, then I'll say, okay, then they did produce that out of their system. But he's off to a, inauspicious start because he's got an oblique. And I'm like, ugh. And I don't want to go back to the Niners and Ayuk and all that kind of stuff. And when you see the beginning of the season, oh, yeah, I remember Ramos. We were wondering what he was going to do. Then he got off the oblique and it slowed him down. And so I hope that's not the case, but he's a little bit slow. But if Bryce Eldridge is what we're all dreaming Bryce Eldridge could be, so let's say he's that great 30-run or that elusive 30-run home run hitter, and he can knock in around 100. And I don't know, he doesn't, batting average isn't anything, but an OPS of 900 or something. Then what are the Giants? Eldridge is legit at first. Fitzgerald's a question, but then the left side of your infield's totally set. The second guy I want to talk about, I said 3 from the Giants. So one is clearly Bryce Eldridge, and we can talk about that. 2 is Patrick Bailey hits a home run, and this happens every single year. First thing, and all the comments under the Patrick Bailey home run, I went right to social media when I saw it. What if Patrick Bailey has a bat? What if Patrick Bailey has a bat? What if Patrick Bailey has a bat? I think somebody said, and again, look, it's fandom and it's cool, and you should think this way. If Patrick Bailey could hit, he could be an MVP. I mean, the guy's like a 5 WAR guy just based on his defense alone. He's that good defensively. So I don't need Patrick Bailey to be a 30 home run guy. I just don't need him to be a hole in the lineup. Like when we get to Patrick Bailey, especially late in the year, the last couple of years, rookie year, second year, where it's just like, okay, Patty Bailey's hitting 8th and he's going to roll one to second base at the end of the year because he's tired. I don't need Bailey to hit 20. Could Bailey hit, 12 to 15 home runs, knock in 70, and have an OPS above average? Could he have like an OPS of 780? In that kind of a range? Like, is that Patrick Bailey? Because if you're getting that from your catcher, at least he's average to above average hitting. That's all I need. I just don't want Patrick Bailey. Like the last couple of years, he's gone through these stretches in the second half of the year where it's just like, you might as well have pitchers hit again. I mean, that's how bad he's been. And we talked about this all in the offseason. If you're not upgrading at first, if you're not upgrading in right, if you don't know what Jung-Hoo Lee is going to bring, if Ramos has got oblique, and you got to get your offense from somewhere. And so if Patty Bailey is just above average hitting wise from a catching standpoint, if he's above it, he doesn't need to be Will Smith of the Dodgers or something like that. I mean, that would be great if he could somehow become that, because Will Smith wasn't what he is now then. He's a middle of the hitter order for the Dodgers. So if Bailey's above average, so that's the second one. Everybody just like, Bailey hit a homer, Bailey hit a homer, Bailey hit a homer. He's hit homers before, and he often gets off the good starts at the beginning of the season. It's just a matter of, can he maintain? In his first couple of years in the league, he hasn't been able to maintain. So going back to who the pitcher was, what the pitcher was working on, we'll see. And it's an encouraging sign. It's not like I would have rather had Bailey strike out on 3 pitches. Like, dude, what are you doing? So Bailey, he's got decent power. He was a decent hitter in college. When he first came up, he was hitting. And remember that? When he was a rookie and he was hitting, and everybody's like, where was this bat? Oh, my God, this guy's going to be amazing. And then, he's tailed off the last couple of years. And at points in his career, he's had these massive stretches where you're just like, this dude, oh, my God, brutal. So anyway, so there's Eldridge from the weekend. There's Bailey from the weekend. And then the other one was Birdsong. And I've said this often. I want him to get another arm. If they had to put Hayden Birdsong into a trade, fine. If they had to put Harrison into a trade, fine. I still feel that way. But when the thing that's really encouraging about Hayden Birdsong, and I told you this before, we were, Pop and I were out on the patio, and he's from an area of Illinois that is half and half, either Cardinal or Cub fan. He ended up being a Cubs fan, and his family and all this stuff. It was a really good conversation with the kid. Really down to earth, Midwest kind of values. Loves baseball, junkie for it. Super smart. Like we were talking to him intricately about pitching and his thought process and getting help from veterans. And I think that Verlander is really going to help him because I think they have similar styles in the way that they approach. And maybe, and I know that I don't mean this literally, but they have some similar traits in their stuff. I don't want to put that on him because Verlander's awesome. Verlander's going to the Hall of Fame. He'd stop right now. He's in the Hall of Fame. It's not even close, except for like one jackass wouldn't vote for him, I'm sure. He can't be a unanimous selection. That's a totally different topic. But he's gonna definitely grab some things from Justin Verlander, and those will be positive things. But when his stuff, and this is what you can't teach, there's guile and there's all sorts of things, and you don't have to have this stuff. It's kind of like the NFL. You don't have to have a rocket arm. You don't have to have all the speed. You don't have to have all the traits. But when that kid can throw it up there 96 to 98 miles an hour, you just can't teach it. And I've said this the whole time, and maybe I'm going to be wrong about this. I like Kyle Harrison. I really like Kyle Harrison. But Birdsong's got better stuff. And Birdsong, to me, has a higher ceiling. And I know that I know he's a local guy in Harrison. I'm not down on Harrison. I like him a lot. But this, where Harrison is running in the 93 to 94 with the occasional 96, this kid can run it up there consistently to 96 to 98 miles an hour. And that doesn't mean that a guy can't hit it. He's got nasty stuff to go along with it. He's got a nasty hook. He can get it up there. And he's got the confidence to match. You can just tell he's got that calm demeanor. He's a slow breather. He's a smart kid for a young kid. Like I said, Papa and I talked to him. And a lot of times these kids will come out to the patio with us. And we'll be hanging out. And it won't be their day to pitch, or else they wouldn't come out there. And they're kind of nervous. Like the young kids, you got to gauge them. So the young guy will sit down, or anybody will sit down, come out there, and you engage them. You probably have 5 minutes. They come out a lot of times. You get about 5 minutes. You go to break. You have about 5 minutes to talk to the guy. And you start thinking to yourself, like, okay. And the young guy, you just know, it's like, oh my God, I'm going to have 50 questions already. And it's going to be basically banter between Greg and I. And then the young guy will kind of jump in a little bit, kind of an interview. You got to gauge it. And when I was talking to Hayden Birdsong before we went on the air last year and we had him on, I was like, this is going to be a great conversation. You could just tell. The first thing I just asked him, so I know you're from Illinois, you're a Cubs, because my parents were from Illinois. So I'm like, a Cubs guy, a Cardinals guy. And we just started talking pitching. We had a great conversation off the air. So I knew going on the air was like, okay, this kid's going to be really good. So he's solid. I like him a lot. So those are the three guys from the weekend that made news for me. Eldridge, anytime he does anything through this spring training, we're going to have a conversation about it. Is he going to make the team? Could he make the team? Could he make the team? Could he make the team? We're going to have somebody on this week from spring training, a Susan Slusser type or Andrew Bagley, who can tell us. I doubt it, just off the top of my head. I doubt Eldridge would make the team, because as excited as we get, and I just use this as an example, Bryce Eldridge hits 5 spring training home runs and hits 538, and we're screaming, he's got to make the team. He has got to make the team. This is an outrage. And the Giants have a plan. They have a plan. Now, sometimes those plans can be turned inside out. Let's say Lamont Wade Jr., I don't know, strains a hamstring, gets hurt, whatever the case may be, and he's want to do that. Then all of a sudden, Bryce Eldridge is 5 home runs and 538 spring training batting average. And you're going, well, that forced that hand. It happens all the time. Like a guy gets hurt. It's like, well, we don't really want to have this guy up here at this point, but he's clearly, and you got to do this in sports. If a guy's ready, a guy's ready. And maybe, could be an injury, whatever the case may be. But let's say Lamont Wade Jr. strains something, which he's done a lot. All of a sudden, there's Bryce Eldridge. And if Bryce Eldridge takes what, I'm just hypothetically speaking, a hot spring training into the first 2 weeks of the season when Wade is down, and he hits 4 more home runs and knocks in a bunch of runs, and all of a sudden you're going, well, we can't keep this guy down. So the plan for the Giants right now might be, he's starting at AAA. I want to give him a little bit of time. But the one thing also about the Giants is they've been aggressive in promoting guys to the big leagues, and they have the philosophy like I do, which is we're not going to hurt his confidence. And if we do hurt his confidence, then he's not that material anyway. So up and down, up and down, up and down. You don't like to do that. But if they have to bring him up at the beginning of the season because Lamont Wade has an injury, that's probably the only way he gets in, even if he has a massive spring. The only way he gets in is if there's an injury. And you say, okay, well, we got to keep Eldridge. He's going to be, because he's probably number 2 in the pecking order of first base. I don't want to see Wilmer over there. I don't want to see Wilmer at all. And I know that everybody, Wilmer is, Wilmer this last year, this and that. He was terrible last year. Man, I know, was it ankle, all sorts of different injuries, but I don't want to see that. So 3 from the Giants, Bryce Eldridge, Patrick Bailey. Anytime Bailey does anything, it's huge. And Birdsong is off to a good start as far as I'm concerned. We will get some information about Justin Verlander today. And again, as I would tell you, I wouldn't be too concerned, good or bad. Oh, you got to be kidding me. So I got this brand new, because I've been complaining about coffee and not having any hot coffee, because when I get out here at about 6:30, I get into the studio about 6:30. We started at 8, and I'm working on all this stuff. And so by the time I have my coffee ready to go, I turn and it's ice cold, and I got to go inside. So I'm wearing a white sweatshirt. I thought I had this thing closed, and it just spilled all over this brand new white sweatshirt. I'm not going to change, though. Probably have a stain on this white sweatshirt. It's a very nice sweatshirt, by the way. All right, 3 from the Giants. Annual spring training warning. We're going to go to Combine Week in a second, but let's recap the chalkboard. Episode 69. Nice. Weekend recap. Andre has his jersey retired. I need to see a little bit more from the Dubs, but very encouraging with Jimmy Butler so far. 3 from the Giants I just gave you. Annual spring training warning. Guys are working on stuff. I don't know who Bryce Eldridge hit that home run off. He might have been just throwing straight fastballs. If a guy's bad, if a guy's good, remember, especially at this point in spring training, they're just working on stuff. Don't overreact. Do whatever you want. Do whatever you want. I'm not telling you what to do, but don't overreact. But I'm not telling you what to do, but don't overreact. All right, let me go to the comment sections real quick, because we're going to move away from Giants. I'm going to go to Combine Week and what the Rams are doing with Matt Stafford. You say to yourself, Lund, I don't care. I don't care if Matt Stafford goes to Vegas. What do I care? Well, if you're a Niners fan and Stafford leaves the Rams, then what does that mean for their quarterback? Like, where does that affect the Niners? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. So we'll do that in just a second. Does that look like your cup? Yeah, these cups are amazing. God, let me get water out of the way. Yeah, these cups are unbelievable. Like, this thing's still red hot. It's cool. But then I just spilled coffee on my white sweatshirt, which I'm going to get in trouble for. I'm like a child. Did you spill coffee on that white sweatshirt? Because I got this from my my stepdaughter for Christmas, and I get a big coffee stain on it. Okay, here we come to the random section. I'll get right back to Combine Week in just a second, because every time I come over to the board, I go into these randoms. I don't know what it is. Like, if I wear a black sweatshirt or black anything or a dark colored anything, I never spill a drop. But the minute I put on anything white, spaghetti sauce, it's like a magnet. Spaghetti sauce, coffee, any kind of drink, I spill on white all the time. And it might be this that I'm so nervous about it, constantly on white. It's like having a dark, it's the opposite. Like, you have a black car, like I have a dark blue car. And it shows everything. So you always tell yourself, man, I'm not going to buy this color again. Like, I love black cars, and you always tell yourself, I'm not going to do that. And it just shows everything. Like, it rains, you got to wash it the next day. But if I wear a white anything, look, I don't know if I can show you this. Yeah, it's not going to work. But yeah, look here. What am I doing trying to do this? Look at this. Look at that. Like, seriously? What, really? I swear, I'm a child. And so I spill coffee on this white sweatshirt. Every friggin' time I wear something white, I spill coffee or something. If I've had a black sweatshirt, like, I would have never even, you're like, well, it would have blended in. I just never would have spilled it. Just never would have spilled it. Let's see. No. You can't go to that work meeting, man. Hi, Marcos. I have to step out for a work meeting. I catch up afterwards. Thanks to the show. Let Giants need more power. I agree with you. Marcos, thank you for making the time. I understand. People can't stay here all day. I totally get it. Please come back and watch the rest of the show. All right. It's unbelievable, man. Seriously. No, it's not doo-doo. It's not doo-doo. It's coffee. I'm telling you right now. Coffee. All right. Let's see here. What do we got? There's a Warriors thing. No, that's not how it works. Hi, Daniel. I hate the Warriors are winning with Jimmy Wilson because I love the show, and I'm going to have to endure a third of the show being Warriors talk. I just talk about what is interesting. And over the weekend, to have Andre's number retired, I think is interesting. For where they're going, I think it's interesting. But I'm not going to just talk about the Warriors to talk about the Warriors. I just know that. You know, I'm trying to talk about what, and believe me, you'll tell me. If you guys don't like Warriors, I'll see it in the numbers. That's what's great about this show, too, is like all of a sudden it's like, nope. You know what I need to do? Mike, you are a brilliant man. JT Snow is working one-on-one with Bryce. I got to get JT on this week. Let me just write this down real quick, so I'll forget everything. I have, I'm not trying to impress you people, but I do have JT Snow's number, and I'm going to text him to see because he's down there working with him. And I would love to get JT on the show to talk about this guy. Because, again, left-handed stick. And I saw the same tweet you saw. JT sent something out like, we're going to get this guy. And he had, I think it's Wotus. And there was one more guy in there that's working with him. So yeah, I think that's it. That's huge. Let's see. Hi, sports fans. Saw Birdsong in Sacramento like 3 times. Dude was solid, under 2 ERA with 14 stars. Yeah, believe me, if you sit behind the plate or something and watch him pitch, he is impressive. And he has the makeup. There's nothing really he doesn't have. It's just a matter of getting it under his belt. And it's still an if for me. And if I had to choose between Harrison and Birdsong, and this is not a rip on either one, I think Birdsong's got the higher upside, even though everyone, at least from a national standpoint, and Harrison, this and that, and I'm not down on Harrison. It's just Birdsong's got some serious stuff. But that tends to happen too. The older a prospect gets, even if he's on a good track, everyone's kind of like, yeah. Harrison isn't what he's going to be. It's just Birdsong's got some nasty stuff, man. Nasty. I agree with you here, Jacob. Giants are the ones that like Wade Jr. 2021 Lamont Wade Jr. was awesome, man. Late night Lamont and all that kind of stuff. And ever since then, it's like injured a lot, tons of walks from your first baseman. That'd be dandy if you had more guys to knock him in. It's a power position. That's just what you want. So I'm just not a huge Lamont Wade Jr. guy. It's nothing personally against him. He's an awesome ping pong player. I do know that, but it's just, come on, man. What else do we got? All right, let's move it. Let's see. Already did. Let's do Combine Week. So I love the Combine. I'm not going to lie to you. Let me see. And I'm really putting this up. There's Brock from the Combine. Isn't that wild? Look at that. There's Brock with the old Iowa State towel. Not drafted by the 49ers. Not thought of very well. In fact, I pulled this up from a story, that picture of Brock that was about wide receivers. And they were I edited the picture because there was wide receivers in the picture. And it just so happened that Brock was throwing the ball. So this wasn't even like a person taking a picture of Brock. It was just a Brock picture that I edited and then blew up to use on the show because they were talking about wide receivers and Brock just happened to be throwing the ball at the Combine. But how wild is that? That's not 49er Brock with an Iowa State towel right there. Incredible. But yeah, I'm a huge guy on it. And so this is what I guess I want to ask. I'm going to hit the comment section up here real quick. This is what I want to ask. If you hate the Combine, let me know because I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to pull clips from it. I'm going to get people from there. I already have a couple of people lined up. I think it's really interesting. I think it's high drama. I try to explain to my wife about the Combine because she loves reality TV. We all do to a certain extent. But she watches an inordinate amount of reality TV and Love at First Sight and Married at First Sight or I don't even know what I know The Bachelor or Bachelorette, one of them is going on. And I'm not just saying that, but that's what she does. She just loves all that stuff. So to me, and I tried to explain it to her, and she'll put up with a lot of stuff, but the Combine, just nah. I mean, like the Combine, I have a TV right here in the studio. I'll be watching it alone out here. She wants nothing to do with the Combine whatsoever. None of it. She's just like, no, we will not be doing Combine. I would not be sitting down watching guys run around or jump or throw or, the gauntlet or all that kind of stuff. Gauntlet with George Kittle had the Kleenex in his nose and he's running the gauntlet. And I'm like, oh, like I go back. I even keep this stuff. Like I have a YouTube TV and, you can keep it for a little while, but I'll like download this stuff and keep it. And then later when that player is on the Niners or I want to reference that player, I'll like have that stuff. It's the dorkiest thing. I'll admit it right now that, we all kind of do dorky things in our life. Like you do what? Your hobby is what? You collect what? Like one of my dorky things, and we all have those things and those embarrassing things, is I just love the Combine. I love watching it, like a wide receiver on a run. And this is what I try to explain to my wife. We need more Combine. Look at Pine Needles going Christopher Walken on us. DVR. I want to talk about DVR on this too, Mike. But yeah, we need more Combine. We need more cowbell. Hey, baby, we need more Combine. Mike's right. I mean, it's a DVR sport, and I DVR a lot of it. You're right. I don't watch a lot of it live. I zip through it, and there's certain things that you need to watch, and there's certain things that you don't. But I think you're right. That's a great statement. Just 3 letters. DVR. DVR. Yeah, you're right. But what I do try to explain to my wife is that if a wide receiver, a certain wide receiver, like the kid McMillan out of Arizona, there's a wide variance that he could run a 4.5. Some people are saying he could run the 4.3s. If that kid runs in the 4.3s, he's maybe a top 6, maybe even a top 5 pick. If he runs in the high 4s, then he's like going to get picked at 25. Now, maybe that doesn't matter, but that's millions of dollars. And to me, that's the whole thing is like, if a certain guy shows a certain thing, the bench press, not as much. It's mainly about the 40. I mean, there's all these other indicators and things like that. And this is why, by the way, you and I get into this conversation all the time. The combine is the very reason why there's so many misses in the draft. Because if there was no combine, like just delete it, do away with it. I think they did it. I think the premise is correct, but it was correct when everybody did stuff. This is my biggest beef about it, and I've told you this. Just everybody run, everybody throw, everybody participate. You're a world-class athlete to even get invited to this thing. So why wouldn't you, as the ultimate competitor, go out there and be like, I want to throw, I want to run, I want to lift, I want to gauntlet, I want to whatever they ask you to do, you just do it. Because if you were the best in college, then why wouldn't you just want to compete? Like, it just drives me crazy. Guys don't want to compete in a dunk or a 3-point a couple of weeks ago. Guys don't want to compete in John Holmes just hit it. He just said Mike Mamula. Mike Mamula, if you don't remember, was an edge rusher out of Boston College. And I think it was the 97 draft, if I'm not mistaken. If I nailed that, man. But Mike Mamula was taken like a top 5 by Philadelphia, and he had okay production in college. But then he gets to the combine. And remember, they have the answers to the questions of the test. So these guys are so good, these trainers. They get their 40 fast, their shuttle times fast. They get in all these things that they are required to do for the combine. And only the guys who can gain leverage will participate. So it's like if you're Shadur Sanders or Cam Ward and you think you're a top 5 pick, why? I get it. Why would you risk it, right? Why would you throw and show them you can't throw? Why would you run and show them you can't run? Like, all it is just if you're good at it, it can really help you. But if you're already supposed to be a top 5 or 10 pick, it can only hurt you. I get it, but I still want guys to compete. I understand the point, but I want guys to do it because they want to compete. And if I was a team, that's the problem is I want to see you compete on the same level. I don't want to go to your pro day, and I don't want a quarterback pro day with dumb brooms and stuff like that, and they can make everything look great, and it's all your receivers, and it's all like I want you to throw to no receivers you don't know. I want you to because then you're on the same playing field. I can see you all in the same place, and it's all apples to apples. But when you go out to a pro day, here's the problem why the draft gets screwed up, because guys won't participate in the combine. And then other guys who compete in the combine know the answers to the test. So they got agents and all these places and everything. And all they're doing from the minute they finished college. All right. Some of these guys graduated, some guys didn't. The minute they went to either Florida or Phoenix or San Diego and they start working out with these things, and it's all about combine testing. The whole thing is combine. So these guys have these things down pat. And so their tape may be okay, but then all of a sudden they blow your freaking mind. And all these scouts who took oodles of notes, right? Not handwritten anymore, but they took oodles of notes and they sent them in, and this is who can play and this is who can't. And this is because it's not about combine testing. Brock Purdy's going to fail the combine. Certain guys don't get asked to the combine. You didn't measure up. And this goes back to CYA. Cover your ass. Hey, man, I drafted the 6'5", 265-pound, 4'4" edge rusher. He failed. Wasn't on me. I mean, you saw it at the combine. The guy benched pressed 225 43 times, ran a 4.4. He's 6'5", 265. What was I supposed to do? I don't know. Look at the film. He had 2.5 sacks in his college career. That's what happens. That's Mike Mamula. Like, what happens is you go in and you have this preconceived notion. If you didn't have a combine and all you did was interview these guys and try to talk to them and get in their brain and how much they love football and how much it means to them and all these other things, and you just looked at college tape. So you looked at college tape and you interviewed these guys and you didn't do all this other crap, you would have a more successful draft. But as it is these guys have had the answers to the test for months and months. They've got these guys working them out that they're paying, and then they know, and then they go to the combine and they blow the doors off. And then a guy's sitting there going, oh, man, you're looking at him in there in the crowd going, oh, my God, I love this guy. And then, it used to be Mayock. Now it's Daniel Jeremiah and Rich Eisen and those guys. And they do an awesome job, those guys. Charles Davis. They do an awesome job. And, oh, I love this guy. And, oh, I love this guy. And, oh, I love this guy. And this guy, Tony Mandrich. Great call, Jacob. The the incredible, what was it? The incredible bulk. He was on. And that, by the way, that draft, I'm doing off the top of my head, like Barry Sanders went after him and Deion Sanders went after him, and they took Mandrich before him. God. Total blow by the Packers. But that's what happens, is that these guys get blown away and then they forget about the tape. And what should be just augmenting what you already know, okay, this guy is fast because we saw him on tape and he looked fast. They change their opinion. And I don't care what anybody says. That's, it doesn't change my opinion. Yes, it does. Trey Lance never would have gotten drafted by the Niners the way that he did unless he had like all these, he was a good athlete. He was a good athlete. And Kyle Shanahan thought, I'm going to get a run, a pass. They're never going to be able to stop me. Look what he did at his pro day. He threw the ball in that North Dakota State Dome 70 yards in the air with brooms in his face. Great. How many times are you doing that in a game? So they forget about tape too much. They rely too much on stopwatches and all the physical things. They fall in love with a guy, and then a general manager thinks to himself when his pick comes up, damn, I saw this guy at the combine. He looked amazing. He's 6'5", 265. He runs super fast. He can lift all the weights, all those things in the shuttle and all that stuff that he's been working on for 6 months, by the way. So he knows how to do that test. He's all those things are so good. We got to draft that guy, because if he fails, I can look at my owner in the face and go, dude, look at all these things. He checked all these. When they say he checks the boxes, he checked every single box. But if you draft Brock Purdy in the first round and he's 6 foot something and he's not the fastest and this and that, and then he's not very good, and your owner goes, God, why'd you even draft him? He looks terrible. Like, he doesn't throw, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that. He's not it's not about winning press conferences, it's about winning football games. And there's a huge difference between being a physical specimen and being amazing and being able to play football. There's so many intricacies of being able to play football. Like, you look back, that's what I was saying about George Kittle with the Kleenex on his nose while he's running the gauntlet. And you're thinking to yourself, in retrospect now, it's like, well, Kittle looked pretty good. He loves the game, all those kind of things. But he gets drafted in the 5th round, and you scratch your head and you go, how can you go into a meeting with George Kittle? I'm thinking back in the day. Like, how could these teams have gone back into a meeting with George Kittle, who absolutely loves football and the energy that he has, and he's always had that. And he went to Iowa, so he can block and all these different things, and he's a physical specimen, and he lifted and he ran in the 4.5. So how did the guy go to the 5th round? Well, because he only, did this and only did oh my God. So anyway, that's why there's failures, because this reason, I love watching this stuff, because I know as much as the GMs will say all this stuff, like they'll get them on, on these shows and stuff, and they'll say the right things. Yeah, this doesn't mean a whole lot, or this is just part of the process, or this just confirms what we already saw on tape, or it's just all these guys overvalue it. They get enamored with it. We all do. You get enamored with the physical state, and then you watch the combine and hear DJ say, oh my God, like Kenneth Grant's a perfect example, the kid out of Michigan. Like, I don't know what he's going to do, but he's a D tackle. He's about 6'3", he's about 339. He's exactly what the 49ers need. If he lifts it a certain amount of times and runs a certain speed, everybody's like, oh, like these mock drafts that are coming out right now, these guys have not played one more snap of ball, not one. And they all know what their physical traits are. They all know. But then what's going to happen is, you watch. There's a pre-draft mock, or pre-mock draft. A pre-mock draft, it'll come out. And then all of a sudden there'll be one that's like post-mock, and it'll be totally different. It's like, what was that? Oh, a guy ran a 4.3. I thought we weren't going to freak out about that. We weren't. We said we don't. Well, that guy ran a 4.3, like Abdul Carter, the defensive end out of Penn State. Like, I don't know if he can get any higher. But let's just say he runs like a 4.35. He's not going to, but at like 255 pounds, all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, he's a freak. And it's like, well, okay. So anyway, I'm just warning you about the combine. I love it, but it is one of the reasons, or the main reason, why teams fail, because they just freak out over it, even though they say they don't value it that much. Yeah, by the way, let me get to this, Daniel. Great point. So we said last week or 2 weeks ago that Kyle was going to go to this because, they have the 11th overall pick, all this kind of stuff. And now Kyle's not going. And who am I to say? I don't know what his reasoning behind it is. I know that they have 30 visits, so they can bring in 30 guys that they, can interview and talk to. But just off the top of my head, Kyle Shanahan knows a hell of a lot more about football than I do. I mean, he knows more in the tip of his pinky than I do. They've been very, very successful in the organization. I know they were 6-11 last year. I'm not panicking over that. Who cares? But what do you have going on that's more important than going to the combine? Seeing guys up close. That's what I was talking about Andre Iguodala. Not to go all the way back to Andre at the top of the chalkboard, but like you just got to be around somebody. You know, Jimmy Butler, you just got to be around Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler, look at statistically, I could go back. I guess I will after the show and look at what Wiggins has done since he's been in Miami. And they're probably similar numbers, but there's not similar impact. I want to know, you know, I want to dig into the brain of Brock Purdy. I want to get into the chest of a Fred Warner, of a George Kittle. Those are the kind of guys that they draft and why they've been successful. Nick Bosa was a no-brainer at 2. But, you know, Fred Warner in the 3rd round and George Kittle in the 5th round and Dre Greenlaw in the 5th round and on and on and on and on and on. How did you find those guys? Because if you talk to those guys, Demo Lenore in the 5th round, and I'm not just pulling rounds out and throwing a guy just because they were picked there. What do those guys that I just mentioned have in common? They love ball, man. I didn't give you a chance to answer. Sorry. Let me pause. They love ball. They love to play. They're leaders. They're just like, it's their mentality. Like you can watch all the film you want, you know, all those kind of things, but I scratch my head because I just think you should be there. Now he has his reasoning why, and it's probably solid, but if it's the center of the universe for the NFL, and you should be there, and you have an entire off season. And I know maybe he's burned out or maybe he's got a process, but man, you went 6-11 last year. You might want to change your process up. You have the 11th pick in the draft, and as much time, FaceTime as you can get in front of these guys. And this is what I talked about is, you know, I wouldn't worry so much about, even though I love it, and I would be probably bored in meetings, although I'd love to see the meetings. But, you know, the physical side of things, yeah, you can go back and watch a guy jump. You can go back and watch a guy run. You can go back and watch all the physical stuff. He doesn't have to be there for that. But my question would be this. What else is more important? Maybe he's got a family issue every single year around this time. Maybe they do a Shanahan family reunion that I don't know about, and it's really important to him. I have no idea. But as much as Kyle Shanahan is a junkie to be in the office, you know, 5 a.m. and leave at 2 a.m. or whatever the case may be, but your coach has got to be at the combine because you get 30 visits, you get to talk to guys, all those kind of things. I want to meet as many guys as I can. I want to walk around. I want to also, you know, he is the final decision maker as far as personnel. It's also a big thing in terms of talking about deals. Hey, you know, you're going to move this guy. You're going to do that. What would you want? I don't know. What would you want? Like, you know, just being out at dinner or just walking around in Indianapolis, you know, in the dome and seeing guys and talking to guys. I mean, there's just so much to do. You know, it's a chance. And I know this is the whole, I just talked myself into the reason why he doesn't go. He doesn't like the fraternization process, but it's part of the deal. Like when you're a head coach, when you're a general manager, you know, I remember my dad was, I've told you this a million times, was in the potato business. And one of the reasons I didn't go into the potato business with him, you know, it's a fun business, even though it sounds really boring, French fries and mozzarella sticks and deep fried zucchini and all that kind of stuff. And you're thinking to yourself, oh, man, but food equals booze. So, I mean, I would go on some of these trips with my dad when I was working for him. And these food shows were fun, man. Because like on the floor, there'd be all these different kind of companies and everything, food companies, but inevitably there's drink companies too. So, you know, they're giving out samples. And by 5 o'clock, believe me, people worked all day long and they didn't go out to bars because there was all these samples for booze and Budweiser and all this kind of stuff. You just got right there. You started drinking. Like it's a fun business, but business is business. And so maybe Kyle Shanahan, and he is a little bit reserved and really doesn't like what he doesn't like to do. And that's one thing about him too, is like, if he doesn't want to do something, he doesn't do it. And he isn't really into the fraternization process. He's more of those, you know, those people that just like to isolate themselves in a room, and he's a mad genius. And so, you know, he doesn't really love that process of others and hanging around others and doing the stuff you have to do as an NFL head coach. But that hurts you. You just have to. Even, you know, there are parts of your job that you don't like. And probably the least favorite thing for Kyle Shanahan is being around other coaches and playing that game. And we all have to do that, right? In order to climb the ladder and do all that stuff. Like there's a guy that you hate over in the cubicle in the corner, but you just got to deal with it. Just part of the deal. You hate going on those annual trips. You hate going on those, you know, oh man, I got to go to that, you know, show X in Chicago. And I don't mean porn, but I mean, you know, just you got to do those things. It's part of your job. And part of Kyle's job is going to Indianapolis, talking to players, getting as much FaceTime as you can with said players, because the more you're around them, the less they're going to fool you. You know, guys can fool you in short doses. You know, you ever met somebody and you're like, man, that guy's going to be a really good friend of mine. Or I really like that couple. And then the longer you're around them, you're like, oh, I see why no one's friends with them. Because it's just after a while, it's like everybody shows their face after a while. You know, the longer you're around somebody, the more difficult it is for them to fool you. So if I'm the head coach of the 49ers, I got to be around these guys. Like, okay, he came in for a 30 visit for 24 hours, and I had dinner with the guy. Seems like a really good guy. But if I talk to him in Indianapolis and, you know, I get 2 or 3 chances with him and I got the combine, now I'm around the guy a lot, and it's a lot less likely he can fool me. You know, look, there are some people, you know this, they can put on an amazing face for as long as it takes. They're always on. Flip the switch, they're on. Flip the switch, they're on. Flip the switch, they're on. But at some point they go, and then they show you that little dark side. And you go, oh, that's it. That's why everybody's telling me watch for that guy. My main thing for him is, and I love Kyle and I think he's great, what do you have that's bigger than the combine? Maybe it's a personal thing. Maybe it's a family thing. Maybe it's just, you know, but if it's a habit thing, which is what it seems, and I have been told before, not just as a habit thing, but it's also like Kyle doesn't like it. And it's like, great, you know? Kids don't like vegetables growing up. You're their parent. You have to make them eat them, just like you're going to do this. There's certain parts of your job and you get paid very highly for it and you work your ass off, and I get it. And maybe you're burned out. You don't want to be around football all the time. Whatever the excuse is, it's generally, I think that he just doesn't like it and doesn't like the fraternization process and all that kind of stuff. I don't care. Like if I'm Jed York, I don't step in often, but if I'm coming off a 6-11 season, you're going to the combine. We have the 11th pick in the draft. You are the final decision maker. There's a lot of different people in the room with input. It's not just John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan sitting in a room. It's scouts. It's, you know, head of scouting. It's all these different people with an opinion on these players. But as I just told you, why do teams fail at the draft? Why do teams make mistakes in the draft? Because they don't get enough information, or they take the information they have and they overvalue certain parts of it. The one thing I want to know about a guy is what's in his chest, what's in his head, how much does he love it? I want to be around him as much as I can, because when they've nailed those picks after the first round, when it really becomes hard, when they've nailed those picks, think about the personality that those guys have. Debo, even though they're letting him go, Debo's a second rounder, just the way he played, how hard he played. Brandon Ayuk, he's a dog. Like, you may not love Brandon Ayuk and some of the things he's done or said, but he's a dog, man, and he's learned. He was in the doghouse. He wasn't an intricate route runner. He's a dog. Juwan Jennings is a dog. Fred Warner is a dog. George Kittle's a dog. See where I'm going? Like, it's a mental side. Diamonor Lenore, he doesn't think anybody can beat him. He's a 5th rounder. He's undersized. He's a dog. That's where they've had success in the draft. So how do you find if a guy is a dog? You can't do it from how far is Indianapolis from here? A couple thousand, 2,500, 3,000. I don't know how far. It's far. Like, you can't do it over a Zoom. You can't do it watching tape, which he loves to grind tape. You've got to be in front of their face to be able to go with John Lynch going, hey, John, did you see what I saw? He's a dog. I didn't catch that. He's a dog. I saw he was a dog. Like, I was sitting right there asking him questions. My biggest thing would be like, what do you have? What do you have that's better to do? I'm going to walk the dog. I'm on a diet. Got to reconnect with my wife. Hello, 59. Yeah. Moses Moody better than Jake Moody. That's going to be, I know we're not going to talk a lot about Jake Moody, and believe me, man, Moody not a dog. Yeah, Moody's a strange dude, but that's kickers, man. Kickers are weird. Like, even if he was at the combine and talked to Jake Moody, I don't know what he would have gotten out of it. That's one of those things where you just go to the special teams coach. And believe me, I was in like I've told you a million times, I was in the room. Kyle and John came in and they said, Kyle right away goes, I wanted a running back. And, they deferred to the special teams coach like 8 times. I don't know, was Schneider the special teams coach then? But he deferred to him like 8 times. Hey, the special teams coach likes him. The special teams. That's the whole cover your ass thing. Like, when Jake Moody gets cut and Kyle Shanahan, has a couple of Red Bull and vodkas or whatever, and he's going to say, that wasn't on me, man. I'm not a special teams guy, even though when he was asked, he said he was. But he's like, look, I deferred to the special teams guy, coach on that. Special teams coach liked him. Wasn't my choice. So I want my head coach at the combine. I don't think that's too much to ask. I really don't. I do not. Talking about Tolbert, noon today for Tolbert, if you just joined us. Noon today for Tolbert. Noon today. The Tom Tolbert Show, Bill. The Tom Tolbert Show. Let me see if, like I said, I popped this up a little bit earlier, but I didn't expect everybody to be on time. It'd be impossible. No chance. It's right there. I'm sure that there's more videos and stuff up there, but that was probably a couple of weeks ago or a week ago or something like that. So at Tom Tolbert Show at noon, at Tom Tolbert Show at noon. Make sure that you check that out. Just resetting the show right now. There is the cover of, that's Tolbert's one. Yeah, that was Friday. You can check out. Is that you, Tolbert? You can check that out for Friday. Where is the Today Show? There you go. Episode 69 today. Episode 69, weekend recap. Andre, annual warning. I already gave you the annual warning. If you were new to the show, thank you so much for finding us on YouTube. We talk a ton of Bay Area sports, but all sports. It says random at the bottom of the chalkboard. You can get me going on random stuff on the in the chat rather easily. If you are watching on YouTube, great. If you're watching on X or Instagram at John Lund Radio, that is fine. But come over to the chat room. Make sure you subscribe at John Lund Unleashed. John Lund Unleashed. Also, we've got a website, johnlundunleashed.com. And later, right after the show, actually, we hit a button and Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your favorite podcast, we are there as well. So a lot of different ways that you can get a hold of the show. All right, we did Combine Week. Any more questions on the Combine? And do you love the Combine? I asked you that question before we get onto the Stafford stuff. And don't leave with the Stafford stuff because it affects the 49ers directly. Yeah, the Tom Tolbert Show. All right, let's see. Moody's a poodle. Let's see. 2 first rounders that they've hit, Mike, Brandon Ayuk and Nick Bosa. The only 2 that they've gone to second contracts on as far as first rounders. I'm not down on their first rounder. I'll just be consistent in saying this. I don't know if Myles Garrett wants the 49ers, but I would trade the 11th overall pick for Myles Garrett in a heartbeat. And maybe that's not going to happen until draft day. I have no idea, but you got to get an extension done for him and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of things. And I agree with you, Pioneer. This does. A lot of head coaches don't go to the combine. They prefer the top 30 when they for watching film of the top prospects. I get it, but I just want every piece of information I can. And here's the other thing too. I can go back and watch that film. I can go back and do all these things. And you don't have, it's 3 or 4 days in Indianapolis. Maybe you don't like Indianapolis. Maybe you think, what's the one steakhouse that everybody loves and the shrimp with the really good cocktail sauce? St. Elmo's or whatever. Maybe you think the St. Elmo's is underrated, maybe whatever the case. But I guarantee you, whatever Kyle Shanahan's doing this week, it's not more important than the combine. It's not. Well, I can't guarantee you. Maybe it's family related. But if it's not family or health related, there's nothing more important in his football life than going to the combine. There's just not. There's not. Talking to guys, and if you talk to a guy and then you talk to him at the 30, like I said, he can't fool you. You want to be around people as much as you possibly can, both from a positive and a negative standpoint. Positive and negative, because from a positive standpoint, it's like I'm confirming all this stuff. And I will say this too, because the longer I think about this, I mean, they have a lot of guys on their team that have the same mentality. I keep bringing up these guys that get in the late rounds, but the reason why they nailed those guys is, yeah, they have good film, but it's like they understand what's in the head and what's in the heart. Their best players all have that mentality. They're all leaders. They all play hard. They all love it, or at least they give the impression that they love it. And all I'm saying that is, it's great that he has the top 30 visits, but that's 30 guys. The combine, there's everybody. You can meet with guys day after day after day, and you may hate doing that, but you kind of have to. All right. What else? Okay, people like the combine. That's the sense I'm getting. And I'm not going to overdo the combine. I may fall in love with a couple of guys. There might be a couple of guys at certain positions that I may play some video of this week. So if that offends you, if you're upset, let me know. Because I guarantee you, at Tolbert today at noon, no combine. No. No mock draft, no combine, no nothing. It's not going to happen. So I'm just saying. I just don't know what he had. The only thing that keeps going. Oh, John Holmes is a stud. Look at that. Yeah, if you go back to YouTube, Chris Jones had ran the 40 out of Mississippi State. He fell down at the end of the 40, and his junk fell out of his pants. And it was hilarious. Who knew that Chris Jones was going to be so good? Like, that was the end of the round. Yeah, Kyle was offended when Chris Jones ran the 40. His junk fell out. He fell down and his junk fell out of his pants. All right, let me go to Stanford LV there and Rams Y. That's where we are on the chalkboard. Thanks for joining us, John Lund Unleashed, johnlundunleashed.com. Let me go to Stafford LV. So I thought to myself, man, Stafford's just kicking up a whole heck of a lot of dirt. If I'm the Rams, I'm absolutely keeping him. Aaron, let's say that they trade Stafford, right? All right, we're sick of Stafford. He won us a Super Bowl, whatever. Great trade from Detroit, but we've had it. You know, his wife's lipping off. He's lipping off. That's it. We've had it, right? Jimmy Garoppolo's their backup. They're not doing that. So what else you got? Well, Aaron Rodgers, he could be available. Okay, is he better than Matthew Stafford? I mean, I think Rodgers 3-4 years older than him. Rodgers was in the 05 draft. Stafford was in the 09 draft. So roughly 4 years older than Stafford is Rodgers. Stafford looks like he keeps himself in better shape than what Rodgers does. I could be wrong, but Stafford still looks really, really good. That last drive against Philadelphia, if they finish that drive, they win. He's a gamer. He finishes games. He scares the hell out of me when he's got the ball in his hands at the end. Stafford can still play. He's not done. To me, Aaron Rodgers looks done. To me, Aaron Rodgers could help a really good team win a Super Bowl. He could help a mediocre team get better. He'd help a really good team take the next step. Matthew Stafford, like, can we be honest here? I love Brock Purdy, but if you just said for one season, all right this very minute, if you said one season, next season, do you want Matthew Stafford as your quarterback or Brock Purdy? I'd take Matthew Stafford. Just next season. I'm not saying that Brock shouldn't be re-signed. Don't misconstrue it. I'm not saying that I'd sign Stafford or trade for Stafford instead of Brock Purdy. I would say that when that trade was up and the Niners and the Rams were jockeying to try to get Matthew Stafford, that if Stafford chooses the 49ers, and he said before, I should find the video tomorrow, he said before it came down to the Niners and the Rams, and McVay happened to be in Cabo, and this thing was all set up. But if Stafford chooses the Niners instead of the Rams, the Niners have a Super Bowl. They have a trophy. Stafford got one for the Rams. They'd have a trophy. And I like Brock a lot. I'm not saying don't re-sign Brock. Long term, beyond 3 years, I'd rather have Brock Purdy. This year and next year to try to win a Super Bowl, I'd rather have Matthew Stafford. It's proven. The guy's going to the Hall of Fame, needs a good offensive line in front of him, but he's come back time and time again. He's a gamer. He's got that it about him. And I'd take Matthew Stafford the next 2 years. 3+ years, I'd take Brock Purdy. If we were in a keeper fantasy draft, I'd take Brock Purdy. If we were in a year-to-year league for the next 2 years, I'd take Matthew Stafford. He's better. I don't think there's any doubt about it. And that's not a knock on Brock Purdy. It's just that Matthew Stafford is that good. So I guess my confusion for the Rams when I first saw this is, if you're the Rams, what are you thinking? Because it's not going to be Jimmy Garoppolo, obviously. Aaron Rodgers is not better, and he's probably not going to be cheaper. And maybe they have a deal worked out for Sam Darnold. You know, Sam Darnold's from Southern California, went to USC. It's inside of a dome, which would help Sam just like it was in Minnesota. Sean McVay is brilliant with quarterbacks. Remember, Kevin O'Connell, the head coach of the Vikings, worked under Sean McVay, so they would have a similar system. He'd have similar traits. Sean McVay is looking at him going, okay, he was up with Kyle. He was with Kevin O'Connell. He knows exactly what our system is. He could do this. And they have Puka Nacua, and they have Kyron Williams, and they have a really good offensive line, although they got a couple of guys to re-sign on that O-line. So maybe the Rams have, I can't believe I'm saying this, they've already talked to Sam Darnold, and that's illegal. All these people, they can't do that. He's under contract. Everybody give me grief. I mean, look, maybe they have a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Maybe they do. And they get a first-round pick or something, or a second-round pick, or a second and a 4, or a 2 and a 3, or whatever for Stafford from somebody who's desperate like the Raiders. And there you go. Matthew Stafford works out a new contract. I just said the key word. So Matthew Stafford wants more money. So this morning I was reading Pro Football Talk, and they're like, well, Matthew Stafford's in line for a contract that's going to get him a couple more years at like $50 million a year. And therein lies the issue with Matthew Stafford sitting there with the Rams going, hey, man, I want a new deal. And the Rams are saying to themselves, well, you already got us the Super Bowl that we needed. That's why we made this trade. And they got to have something better. That's the whole thing, is when Sam Darnold signs the Rams and everybody goes, how did that happen? Well, they do. They talk ahead of time. I'm sorry. All these people are like, Lund, there's tampering. You can't tamper. Tamper. All these people, tamper. I'm like, they tamper 24/7, 365. It doesn't have to be a head coach or a GM texting the player. They could talk to the agent off the record. Friends can call Matthew Stafford. What are you thinking? Friends can call Sam Darnold. Hey, Sam, what if the Rams made you X offer to go home and play for the Rams and under Sean McVay? I mean, Sam Darnold's going, yeah, I'll do that. And for a lot cheaper than what Matthew Stafford will do it. And Sam Darnold's 28 versus Matthew Stafford being 36, 37. Maybe the Rams just think to themselves, you know what? I'd rather get a quarterback like Darnold and all these young players they have on their defensive line. What do I talk about all the time? Growing together as the same age. And that's what gets you those prime players in their prime years. Well, Darnold's in his prime years, and they got a bunch of young guys plus some prime year guys if you're the Rams, Puka Nacua and all these guys, and they're all going to grow together. And they could win multiple championships. And the Rams are thinking, well, you know what? We might as well just do it now because Stafford wants X amount of dollars now. Do we give Stafford the next 3 years or do we give Darnold 5 years? We think because he was just in the same system, Kevin O'Connell, who McVay has talked to, McConnell says, God, I hate to lose the guy, but yeah, we're going to go with J.J. McCarthy. But Sam Darnold, you're going to love it. He can do this, 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 and this. O'Connell worked under Sean McVay. Duh. So to me, that's what's going on here is Sam Darnold's had a wink, wink, nudge, nudge under the table deal with the Rams if they trade Stafford. So the Rams are going, hell with it. We have leverage. He just gave, if you don't know the story, they gave Matthew Stafford's agent permission to go seek what his value is around the league. And so if he finds it, and he will, because the Raiders are desperate for a quarterback, the Steelers are desperate for a quarterback. I don't know if the Browns would do anything, but they're desperate for a quarterback. There's a number of teams, obviously, that need a quarterback and could, in the next couple of years, be really good. The Raiders are desperate. That's why it says Las Vegas. Now, if I'm Stafford, but again, it comes down to money, not 90% of the time, not 95, not 98, 100% of the time. So Stafford's thinking to himself, okay, I'm 36, 37 years old. The Raiders will probably give me 3, where most teams would give me 2. So I get a 3-year deal. Pete Carroll's coming in. They're going to be a competent organization. Tom Brady's here trying to convince me to come here, even though the guy with the bowl cuts writing the checks, whatever. I never have to talk to that guy. He's a jackass. But I've got Tom Brady here as insulation. I got Pete Carroll here as insulation. I probably won't have to talk to Dutch Boy very much. So, yeah, that's not a bad situation. Oh, by the way, there's no state income tax. That's where I say it's all about money. So the Raiders would probably, because they're so desperate, give Stafford an extra year. Maybe most teams would be like, okay, we'll give you 2 and 110. And all of it's guaranteed. The Raiders would say, we'll give you 3 and 150 and all of it's guaranteed. And Stafford's like, sold. And he may not win another Super Bowl, but he's going to the Hall of Fame. He's already got a Super Bowl. Raiders could be competent in that division, although Chargers, Broncos made the playoffs, Chiefs in that division. I would not go there if I'm him. If you want to win, I mean, you're at the end of your career. Do you want to win? Pittsburgh would be a better place. There'd be a number of different places. But to me, this screams Stafford wants money. Near the end of his career, already has the Super Bowl, going to the Hall of Fame. Rams don't want to do that. They don't want to do that. They've got a younger team that kind of ages in a different direction. They bring in 28-year-old Sam Darnold. He fits them better for a 5-year window of championships. That's how teams think. Do I want to win it? Do I have 2 or 3 years with Stafford? Do I have 5 to 7 years with Sam Darnold, with a younger roster that's going to age better with Darnold as the quarterback? Now, how do the 49ers fit into this whole thing? Glad you asked. Because where it says Rams, why? Hey, you want to replace Stafford with Darnold and I'm a Niner? Yeah, I'll do that. Like if I'm the Niners, as many times as I've seen Matthew Stafford stick it to us, and you had the interception by Ambry Thomas and everything, but Matthew Stafford, when he had the ball in his hands, he's one of those guys. He might be not on the same level as like a Patrick Mahomes or something, but in terms of guys who have, I don't even know, I don't have the number in front of me, but comeback wins, down a score, comeback wins, 2 minutes on the clock, whatever the parameters are. Stafford has a boatload of those, and he was in Detroit and stunk for years. His arm is still really strong. He's a pain in the butt late in games. If you told me Stafford or Darnold, no, it's a no-brainer. And look, Sam had a great year last year, but he had Justin Jefferson and all these things. But I could see the Rams, and I could see O'Connell saying, we're not keeping him, Sean McVay. But he was underneath, O'Connell being under McVay and asking him all these questions. And, yep, they tampered. Hey, what did you think? And man, he is good. Our organization wants to go in a different direction. We took J.J. McCarthy with the 9th overall pick. That's the direction we're going. But, Sean, you'll love Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold gets to go back to Southern California, went to USC. The Rams signed him for less than they would have signed Matthew Stafford, so they can sign other guys. Alaric Jackson, they got a couple of guys in their offensive line that are free agents. They're able to sign those guys, protect Sam Darnold. They let Cooper Kupp go. They grow younger. That defense is very, very young. They grow together. Darnold gives them a 5-6 year window. Stafford gives them a 2-year window probably. The Rams are going to opt that way, plus the quarterback's cheaper. They trade him to the desperate Raiders. They give him not a first-round pick because they're not giving him a top 10 pick. But let's say the Raiders give him a second-round pick. That's a high second-round pick. That probably gets it done. And maybe a conditional 4th or a 5th. So all of a sudden the Rams now have more value. What have the Rams done over the last couple of years? Been really good in the draft after the first round, just like the Niners have been. So all of a sudden the Rams get a high second-round pick. They sign Darnold, cost them nothing, cheaper than Darnold, 5 to 7 year window. That's the thought process. From a Niners perspective, I'm sorry, I'd rather have Stafford. So that's an upgrade, and it's another reason why as you look to the Niners offseason and you say to yourself, all right, well, look at this division. Seattle's getting better, but they need help. Cardinals are the Cardinals until further notice. And the Rams aren't better with Sam Darnold at quarterback than they are with Matthew Stafford. That's a win for the Niners, at least in the short term. And I got to ask myself, can Darnold do this again? Can Sam Darnold do what he did in Minnesota with the Rams? It just makes way too much sense that that's what the Rams are thinking. Because of the O'Connell and McVay connection, because Darnold is from Southern California, if Stafford's getting traded, if they are taking calls or if they're saying to Stafford's agent, hey, man, at the most difficult position in sports to fill, yeah, you can go ahead and talk to Matthew Stafford. What? Ooh, the guy who helped us win a Super Bowl a couple years ago? They have a plan. The Rams aren't going to the draft going, damn, man, can Sanders fall this far? Damn, Jimmy's fine. Jimmy will get it done. We're going to bring in Aaron Rodgers. They're not doing that. There's way too many connections to Sam Darnold. From O'Connell to USC to Southern California to Sean McVay, the offense they run. He's seen him in San Francisco. He's seen Darnold. He's seen him in Minnesota. Those are the same. That's the same offense. And Sean McVay's going, I get a longer window and a cheaper guy at that position. We can sign more free agents. We get picks for Stafford. Maybe the Raiders give us their second-round pick, which is a high 2, and they get Stafford. And then Stafford's happy because he goes to the Raiders. He's on the West Coast, no state income tax, and probably gets an extra year because the Raiders are so desperate on the deal. Win-win-win for everybody, and especially, I think, short-term for the Niners. So that's why I put the Stafford LV and Rams Y on there, because it all comes back to money. It comes back to money for the Rams. It comes back to money for Stafford. So would you rather have, let me ask you this, after all that blah, 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 blah that I just gave you, do you buy what I just sold? And B, would you rather have Darnold, but then the Rams have a second-round pick and maybe a conditional pick, which is a high second-rounder, or would you rather have just you think Darnold's better than Stafford? How would you look at all that? Because to me, Stafford leaves, Darnold comes in. I know the finances and all that other stuff, but just from a pure football standpoint next season, because who knows what happens year to year? Nobody knows. As Kyle once said, I don't even know if I'm going to be alive on Sunday. So just for next year, you're basically going Darnold in, Stafford out. That's win 49ers to me. But I could be wrong. Joe, good to see you, man. Happy Monday. Good to see you, my friend. Always love that avatar on yours. Let's see. High skills. Yeah, I just think it's an interesting conversation because everybody looks at Stafford and says, well, what does that have to do with the Niners? It has a ton to do with the Niners. And I'm looking at that. The minute I read that, I go, wait a minute. The Rams are shopping him. They have a plan. The Rams are shopping him. They already know what they're going to do. The Rams are not shopping Matthew Stafford at a team that went to the second round of the playoffs. All right. Rams went to the second round of the playoffs. They're not rebuilding. So what do you think they're going to do? They're not drafting a quarterback. Jimmy Garoppolo is not going to be the quarterback of the Rams, the starting quarterback. They have a plan. And so for those who always sit there and go, but Lund, that's tampering, like the Vlad Guerrero thing. Do you know how many people came to me on social media and said, the Giants couldn't tamper, though. He's under contract. You don't think that Sean McVay has done massive work on Sam Darnold and asked everybody around him and gotten through to Sam Darnold, would you come here? You don't think Les Snead, the general manager, has talked to the agent for Sam Darnold and said, hey, the parameters of a deal, what about like this? Would you accept something like that? Because if they can get close and just talking,
they know they can dot I's and cross T's and get something done. They're not shopping Matthew Stafford as a team that got to the second round of the playoffs to go, man, it'd be great to get a second round pick and make Jimmy our starter or make Aaron Rodgers our starter. They're thinking Sam Darnold. They have a plan, and they just are going to execute the plan. High second round pick from the Raiders. Yeah, we'll take that. To me, I think that's great. If I'm the Niners, I'm like, cool. Have Sam Darnold as your quarterback and not Matthew Stafford. Please do that. There you go. What else do we have today? Why would the Raiders just sign Darnold and keep the pick? Because think about who their head coach is, Pete Carroll. He wants to win pronto. Darnold's okay. I don't mind it. But if I'm the Raiders and I can give up, you're giving up a pick. I understand that. But Matthew Stafford is a better quarterback than Sam Darnold. And Sam Darnold did it for a year, and that's great and everything like that. But maybe they're not going to get. I mean, when you say, and that's a great point. When you say, why wouldn't they just sign him? Well, is Sam Darnold coming to the Raiders? Because with Sam Darnold, there's all sorts of the price is probably going to be higher than you think because everybody's desperate for a quarterback. So if he leaves Minnesota, there's, like I said, there's Pittsburgh. There's a number of teams who need quarterbacks. So it's not just automatic that Darnold goes to the Raiders. Now, having said that, and it's a great point, Jacob, by you, having said that, he's not going to New York. So the Jets need a quarterback. They're desperate. He's not going back to the Jets. The Giants need a quarterback. Maybe they'll be able to go in through the draft. I don't think he's going back to New York, just period. I mean, he'd get PTSD going back to New York, like whether it was the Jets, the Giants, whatever. I don't think he's going there. Cleveland can't let go of Deshaun Watson. They would take a $100 million cap hit. So it's one thing the Jets take $50 million tasty dollars in eating the deal for Rodgers. Cleveland's not taking $100 million in their deal. But you're right. I mean, he could just go to the Raiders and the Raiders to say heck with it. Now, if I'm the Raiders, to be honest, that's the move I make because you're not in a championship window. I don't even know that you're in a playoff window if you're the Raiders, just especially given the division you're in. Kansas City's better, clearly. Denver went to the playoffs last year with a rookie quarterback who's probably just going to get better. Harbaugh's teams, we know this, they get better and better. The more players Harbaugh gets that believe the Harbaugh philosophy and system, he gets better. The Chargers are not going to get worse. To me, that's the worst Chargers team you're going to see under Harbaugh, probably till the end. He burns everybody out. But for the next 2 or 3 or 4 years, that's the worst Chargers team you're going to see. They're just going to get better. And so, they get more Harbaugh guys on their team. They're going to get better. So you're in a division if you're the Raiders with KC, the Chargers, and Denver, and all three were in the playoffs last year. And maybe Kansas City's not going to get better, but they're going to get that much worse. And to me, the Chargers and the Broncos are just their arrow is up. So if I'm Darnold, what do I want to do? Am I going to go to that division and win? Now, if you pay me the most, I am. But that's where I scratch my head over Stafford a little bit. But again, money. I think Stafford could get a 2-year deal from somebody that's worth a lot. I think the Raiders would be desperate to give him 3 years. And if the other thing too is, and I keep bringing this up, Tom Brady, this is what's going to be interesting this offseason in regards to Brady. If you're somebody who's going to sign with the Raiders at that position, so let's just say Stafford's talking to him. That has to be a trade. Let's say Darnold's talking to him. That's a free agent. Let's say Rodgers is talking to him. That's a free agent. How much are they going to believe Tom Brady, broadcaster and advisor of the Raiders, versus Mark Davis? That was always the problem. I said this not to relate it back to the Giants, but the San Francisco Giants. I relate it back to the Giants is when Farhan would walk in a room, and having interviewed Farhan for a couple of years on the radio, he was socially awkward. I mean, that's the nicest way I can put it. I can put it in a lot worse ways, but Farhan was socially awkward. When he would get nervous, he would laugh. And he was just, I don't know, and I don't want to make it a personal appearance, so I won't do that, but he wasn't that dominating figure in a nice suit and walk in a room and control the room like I think Buster Posey is going to be able to do. Buster Posey walks in a room in a nice tailored suit and says, "We want you to be a Giant." That makes a difference. And to me, Mark Davis is the owner of the Raiders. And so Mark Davis walking in an old-looking Al Davis jumpsuit representing the Raiders doesn't give me a whole hell of a lot of confidence. That guy has to be Tom Brady. Tom Brady has to recruit Sam Darnold. Tom Brady has to recruit Matthew Stafford. It's not going to be Mark Davis. And Mark Davis can't even be in the room. Tom, I want to come in and I want to talk to him. No. You're a silent partner. You have the money. Your dad you got the team in the will, but you can't be in the meeting. I'm sorry, you just can't. You're a silent partner. The less you're here, the better. The less you're here, the better. That's just a lot of owners. It's that way. Like, I know you're going to sign the paychecks. I know you have a right to be in the meeting if you want to be in the meeting. You can be at the press conference after we get the pen to paper. Then you can walk in and be like, hello, I'm the owner of the team. Like, then it's like, too late, dude. You already signed. Sorry. It's got to be Tom. Tom Brady's got to be the face of the Raiders to recruit people. And then, who's the guy in the back? Don't worry about him. Turn the light off in the back. Okay, you can sit in the room, but you're going to be in the back, and we got to turn the light off. After they put pen to paper, man, we'll flash it, and it can be about you, and you can say whatever silly thing you're going to say at the press conference, but that's when it's done. Like, they can't back out. We've dotted I's, we've crossed T's. That's it. But you're not in the room because it's like, who am I? That guy's signing he's the owner? Yep. Was that not nice? Al could close. Al could close. Yeah. Exactly. Al could close. Guys signed because of Al. Guys won't sign because of Mark. And it's like, oh, that's why Tom was such an important hire for them. 5% of the team, whatever. But what Tom's role is even though I own 5% of the team, I'm the face of the team. That's what's giving you confidence. That's why, the president might not do anything, might do something in our society. It's about the confidence. That's where our stock market goes. Stock market is all about confidence. Well, it's the same thing. Like, if I'm a player and I'm going to sign with the Raiders, not to go on a Raiders tangent here, but it's like, look at the Niners. It's John and Kyle. You mean Hall of Famer John Lynch and, son of Mike Shanahan, should be a Hall of Famer. Cool Kyle Shanahan and Hall of Famer John Lynch. Those are your closers for the Niners, for years for the Warriors. Bob Myers. See Bob Myers this weekend at the Andre Iguodala. He's got a beard now. But Bob Myers looks the part. 6'4", 6'5", beautiful hair, walks into a room, dominant, beautiful tailored suit. Bob Myers, you're confident in Bob Myers. He's closing a deal. Jerry West for the Warriors could close a deal. Al Davis could close a deal. You know what I mean? Judd York got out of the way. Oh, I get it. Mark's got to get out of the way. That's why you hired Tom Brady. Tom Brady is a recruiter. Tom Brady is a closer. Tom Brady closes either Darnold or Stafford. Mark Davis does not. Let me introduce you to I got to go. What? I thought you were going to sign here. Wait a minute. We had a deal. Vegas rubs me the wrong way. I'm out of here. No, I'm not trash talking the Raiders at all, man. I think the one thing that Mark did that I'll give him a ton of credit for is hiring Brady. And I think he did it for this very reason. This very reason is like, look, we're not, he knows. Like, he's not walking in. He's a fan. See, that's the problem is, like, I've been a fan for so long. He's like Chris Farley, It's like, dude, Chris Farley's not closing. Like, no. He's a fan. I had enough of that. All right, we're down to the Rams part of why. We're down to Tom today. Let me play this for you because if people are not play this for you. Let me give you this cut because I got two more things for you. I got the thing that people were asking for on Friday. And did you see this baby race? I guess it was the New Orleans game, New Orleans Pelicans. This is wild. I've never seen anything like it. Two more quick things. Tom today at noon, the Tom Tolbert Show. Tom at noon today. So I did a promo. Tom and I were talking about Kyle Shanahan. And for those who don't know, Kyle and I, Tom Brady gets the coffee. I don't think Tom Brady gets the coffee. Mark gets the coffee. But let me, I don't know how I popped that one up there, but I did. Let me show you this. So I did this promo of Tom and I. We were talking about Kyle Shanahan. For those who don't know, Kyle Shanahan did his first ever interview in the Bay Area with Tom Tolbert and I when we were doing our show together, Tolbert and Lund, years and years and years ago. So this is 2017. And Kyle had this, jet black hair, no gruff, look amazing. And it was so funny, though. In the statute of limitations has come up so we could tell the story. So I was talking to Tom about, we have Kyle on, right? He doesn't know us, but we had fun and we joked around and we had him for normal 15, 20 minutes. We're down at the facility, whatever. And the mics go off, we go to break. And Tom says, Kyle, before I let you go, and this is where they kind of started their relationship. And I'm sure that Kyle's going to be on with Tom, maybe not weekly during the season, but quite a bit because Kyle likes Tom a lot. And so Tom stops. This is right after the Super Bowl that they blew against the Patriots. The Falcons, Kyle comes over as the offensive coordinator and of the Falcons, goes to the 49ers. And Tom says, I got to know this. I got to know this. If Devontae Freeman makes that block, because Julio Jones is wide open over the left sideline, and everyone's mad that the Falcons didn't run the ball and they were way up at that point, but Dante Hightower gets the sack, the fumble. Anyway, the rest is history. And Kyle looks around and says, we're off the air, right? And this is off the record. He said, yeah. And he says 100%. And then he starts explaining it. Then there was 2 or 3 other plays in the Super Bowl. And we get into this whole conversation. And the people are waiting like, could you let Kyle go? But Kyle's such an honest guy that he wanted to explain. He probably sat there for 7 or 8 minutes explaining the end of the Super Bowl. We were just blown away by the whole thing. So we were talking about it on the Friday show, and I have a short right now, John Lund Unleashed. I have a short of it. And then Tom was so funny because he goes, really, the only reason I asked him is because I lost money on the Super Bowl. And why don't you run the damn ball? And so that was pretty funny. But this is the picture. So there's me and Tom with Kyle Shanahan, and that's when he was hired in 2017. So that's right after the Super Bowl. I mean, that was like the next week after the Super Bowl. Look at Kyle. Like, Kyle looks like he's 25 there. I mean, being a head coach in the NFL, that'll age him more than the president. I mean, look at that. No scruff, black hair, nice suit. Like, I don't know the last time I saw Kyle in a suit, but that might have been the day. But anyway, yeah, I mean, just he looks young. My God. Anyway, there's his first interview. So he did the press conference, and then they took him into this like kids room or whatever that we were at Levi's Stadium, and that was the first interview that Kyle ever did. And that's what that, like I said, after that interview, that's when Tom started asking about the Super Bowl and how he lost money on it and everything like that. So there's that. So that's one thing I want to show you. And then one more thing I want to show you. And I don't know the context of this at all. And we often do this on the show. We're at the random part of the show here on the chalkboard, John Lund Unleashed. I saw this yesterday. I saw this online, and so you may have seen it already, but there's a baby race. But I'm going to stop it at the point where, so they are like, go, and this baby just takes off across. It's like, during a break or whatever. And the rest of the babies are just sitting there. They don't want to be away from their parents. They're just sitting. Like, the one kid got the memo and is just blazing through this whole thing. But watch till the end when all the other babies are like at the starting line, just sitting there. Like, without for this one baby, this would have been a complete bomb of a bit. But the one baby goes bananas. And I don't know if they're like holding something on the other end that motivates this kid, if it's food, if it's, some sort of rattle or something that caught his eye, shiny something that caught eye. Had to have. But the other kids clearly were not interested. And this one kid is like, he's like the Ben Johnson or whatever. And the guy is just like unbelievable. Noah Lyles, whatever the kid, the cheetah, like this kid is flying. Watch this. We're right here. Like, let me stop right here. See the one baby just sitting there. The rest of the babies are by their parents. Like, mom and dad, I ain't leaving you. And the one woman's like, go, go, go. And nobody, cheerleader jumping up and down. Like, that would have been a complete bomb of a bit because look, none of those other kids did anything. Like, they all just look at down here on the white here. They just stood by their parents. Like, I'm not leaving you. And you insane. One kid like went out to the, maybe 5 feet from his parents. The other kids like later, like, I'm gone. Look at him. Look at the rest of the kids are like, we're not leaving. And this kid is like, see ya. So I don't know if there's like a shiny object, some sort of food he likes. I don't know where it is. Maybe one parent is on the other side and he didn't like the parent. The other parent, like, he's out of there. And he's the only one. Like, the rest of them, the baby races, like, funny concept. But like, this is during like a break or maybe halftime or something. And look, the one kid sitting there, and then the rest of them are like nailed up against their parents. Like, I'm not leaving you. You insane? It's like diving into the deep end of an ocean. Like, I'm not going. One kind of sits there, the other just sitting there, and then the one kid just took off. Like, later, I'm out of here. It's wild. Wonder what happens to that kid. Maybe he's just an awesome athlete. But he was going like, 4.3 40 right there. Anyway. I don't know why I showed you that. Wait. I'll save that for tomorrow. All right. I'll save that for tomorrow. All right. Tommy at noon today, at Tom Tolbert Show. At Tom Tolbert Show. That was a week or so ago, so I'm sure he's put some videos up and everything like that. But at noon Pacific time, Tom Tolbert is going to be on at Tom Tolbert Show. So make sure that you check that out and check out Tommy. I think we have done all the damage we could do for a Monday edition of the show. Please remember a couple of things. Do not go anywhere. If you are a Lund loyalist, hit me up, John at johnlundradio.com. I can check those, so don't do it if you're not. But if you're a Lund loyalist, John at johnlundradio.com. Let's get that done this week. Also, I have a shop up that I am. Let me just put this up there. And if this is a motivator for you, I'm going to owe you something from the shop. Right there. I'm going to owe you something from the shop. So we got the baseball shirt. We got other stuff. Well, I'm not going to do those for free. The 30-minute one-on-one. We got a group chat. We got a bucket hat, which, by the way, the thing's black or white. Woo, 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 woo. So black or white. Black or white. The trucker hat there. We got a water bottle, hoodie. Those things are very popular, like the Stanley Cups. Not the Stanley Cup. You get what I'm saying. But anyway, we have a women's t-shirt too. I don't know why that is not on there, but anyway, so Lund loyalists, I'll get you something off the shop, and we're going to do the chat this week. We got to do the chat this week. So want to do that as well. So hit me up, John at johnlundradio.com, and we'll get that so we can put 10 people in the room who can have a chat and hang out as well. And that's that is the shop, which is at John Lund Unleashed on YouTube. Thanks for hanging out today. Had a tremendous time. Let me check the comments before we get out of here today, but had a tremendous time. Please make sure you're subscribing, telling all your friends and enemies, tell all your friends and enemies that you enjoy the show. And please subscribe, John Lund Unleashed, johnlundunleashed.com. I'll be writing a story of the day today. Not sure what it's going to be. Could be Giants, could be, I like the Stafford angle and how big of a deal that is. Andre, whatever it is, but we'll figure out that. We'll be writing today, johnlundunleashed.com. We'll be updating that. Plus, it's a great place to get all the podcasts that you may have missed, all the YouTube shows you may have missed, all sorts of social media links up there. So tons of stuff. And we will make sure that we get that done. And yeah, if you are a John Lund loyalist, as part of it, we're going to buy you something out of the store. And we're going to have that chat later on this week. So hit me up, John at John Lund Radio, not to join, but to say, hey, man, this is my email. And then what I'll do is I'll mass email everybody and say what works is the best time. It's hard to get 10 people on the same page, but we'll try to generally get everybody on the same page and see if we can't get something going there. All right. What else do we have? Oh, I like that. You give me a little wand. I like the wand part of things. Yeah, not bad. I mean, John Holmes, we put that together, and I had to consult with my wife, who knows a lot more than I do. But this hat was from a different company, so it's going to be black in the front with the white, or there's one that's fully black. So there's black with a white net with the white mesh, or there's one that's, let's see, black and black. So anyway, we'll add some stuff too if you're like, hey, I need this. Oh, that's rough. That's really rough, Dan. But I could see that. I could see where you're going on that. He does kind of look like that. I lost 100 on that baby. Dude, that baby was flying. Like, if you bet on anybody else, the other ones didn't even get out of the gate. It was like, what is that? Maybe so. Maybe they should call Child Protective Services, because that kid wanted to get away from those parents like pronto. Like, see ya. Don't want to be any part of you. Don't even want to near you, bro. Let's see here. What else do we have? Anything else today? Where are we going with pickles and cucumbers? Tell me what's going on here. I missed it. Let's see. What else do we have? Yeah, I mean, you're not lying about that, man. Yeah, I mean, can you imagine? Can you believe that that's what Kyle looked like when he first got here? I mean, seriously, let me go back to that. I mean, seriously, talk about aging like the president. I mean, believe me, I haven't aged well since that day either. I look just as bad, actually. I don't know that I've aged at all, but I don't look great. But Kyle, I've got my suit on. It's my first day of work. I've got my hair nice and neat. I shaved this morning. I want to impress everyone. That's like, he walks up to the podium with like a cup of coffee. He's got all this scruff on his face. He's like, go ahead. I've been sleeping on a cot for 3.5 years. I'm very tired. What do you want? What do you got? What are your questions? Sucking down coffee and all that kind of stuff. Now, I mean, look at that. Beautiful. Look at that suit. Perfect. Nice hair. No scruff, no gruff, no gray. No play for Mr. Gray. He doesn't look like that anymore. Man, telling you, age worse than the president when you're a head coach. Seriously, I mean, they're at the facility like 20 hours a day, aren't they? Don't blame the guy. I mean, I'm not saying he looks better. He looks a lot better than I do. I'm not throwing stones into a glass house. He looks a lot better than I do. I'm just saying, man, you age. You're a head coach. Get ready to age. Remember when Obama first came in? It reminds me of that. Like Obama was like, look beautiful, jet black hair comes out of the White House. He's all scraggly, hair's gray. I don't know where you age more, president or head coach. Unbelievable. All right. That's as much damage as I could do. Oh, you are the man. You are the man. Yeah, dry cleaning. I mean, seriously, am I the only one here that does this? Look at that. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. There you go. Jeez. Coffee. Spilling coffee on my white sweatshirt. Come on. If I had a black sweatshirt on, navy sweatshirt, red sweatshirt, none of that. That would never would have happened. White sweatshirt, pouring coffee all over myself. Ridiculous. Like a child over here. Embarrassing. It really is embarrassing. Stupid. All right. That'll do it for a Monday. That's not a bad Monday, man. Lots of good stuff today. Weekend recap. Andre gets his jersey retired. Dubs, let's wait a little bit longer. 3 from the Giants. The 3 were Bryce Eldridge home run, Patrick Bailey home run, and I love the way Birdsong looked, but annual spring training warning. Remember, could be working on stuff, just throwing fastballs. Don't overreact one way or the other. Combine week will be later this week. I love it. I think it's great. You may hate it. I want to know. This could be a democracy to a certain point. If you want less or more, you let me know. Stafford to Vegas has big-time implications on the 49ers. I think the Rams could be working towards Sam Darnold. You don't just let your quarterback talk to other teams unless you have a plan, and I doubt that plan is Aaron Rodgers. Remember the ego I told you about with Kyle Shanahan? Take the ego of Sean McVay, times that by about 10, and you think they're going to work in the same room together? I don't. So it would seem to me that Darnold would be the plan for LA, and they move Stafford to, say, the Raiders for a high number 2 pick, and everybody gets what they want, plus Stafford gets no state income taxes and a third extra year from the Raiders. I could see that. And then what does that do to the Rams? I don't think they're as good. Tom today at noon, Tolbert today at noon, the Tom Tolbert Show. All right, I think we covered it. John Lund Unleashed. Make sure you subscribe. JohnLundUnleashed.com, Apple, Spotify. Thank you for watching on Instagram. I'm going to check this out as well. Make sure that everybody said hello today on Instagram. I ignored you a little bit today. I apologize. Anybody on Instagram got any questions? Okay, we're good there. And thanks for watching on X as well. Good time had by. Oh, Bill's got something out. Hold on. Just screwed something up. That's why I don't wear white. I spill everything. I know, dude, I'm telling you, it's like a magnet. If I don't wear white, I never spill anything on my sweatshirt. Every time, I'll tell you, I'll wear this. I'll try to wear this on Friday again. We'll do this bit again on Friday. Because this is going to be like shouted out. I mean, this thing's been sitting here forever. If this doesn't come out, I'm in so much trouble. This is like seriously, I know you're going to laugh at me for this. And I know you're going to judge me for this. But I think my wife bought this for me or my stepdaughter bought it for me for Christmas. This is like an $80 aloe yoga sweatshirt or something. Just like some white, Old Navy sweatshirt. But I'm telling you, it's like an $80 sweatshirt, which I don't endorse. But, it's nice and soft and comfortable and cotton and all this stuff. But it's like an $80 sweatshirt. And if this coffee doesn't come out, I'm going to be in a lot of trouble. I'll tell you that right now. I'm going to be in a lot of trouble. All right. That's it. I keep saying that. That's it. Please email me if you're a Lund loyalist. If you want to become a Lund loyalist, go to johnlundunleashed.com or to the YouTube page, and you can become one because I'll buy you something out of the inventory that I just showed you. And we're going to have that chat as well coming up this week. So John at John Lund. Ooh, I know. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I don't know, though. Even if I was at my fighting weight, I don't think it's protruding out that much that's where it would happen. It just happened to be that this coffee cup, which I absolutely adore and has kept my coffee hot this entire time, I went to take a sip of it, and I don't know. Look at this. There's this, you can probably not see this, but it's like, there we go. It's this tiny hole at the top. Like, how could that tiny hole spill that much coffee? Only because it's a white sweatshirt. Only because. I know. What do I get? Like, just shout, right? I mean, it's just shout or something like that. It has to be. Yeah. Dang it, man. It's terrible. I'm such an idiot. All right, everybody. Have a great Monday. I am so glad that you hung out with us. By the way, I'd never take that for granted. Thank you so much. Tell all your friends. We'll be back tomorrow. Have a wonderful Monday. In the meantime, make sure you're watching Tommy today at noon for the Tom Tolbert Show. Have a great Monday, everybody. We will talk to you tomorrow. Plus, have those alerts on because we'll do tons of stuff throughout today, including a new article at johnlundunleashed.com.
Thanks for hanging out with John Lund Unleashed. We'll try to be better next time, though I wouldn't hold my breath. Please like and subscribe on the John Lund Unleashed Pod YouTube channel. Watch live shows weekdays at 8 a.m. on YouTube, Instagram, and X. And make sure to have your alerts on for shows throughout the day or night. All things Lund can be found at johnlundunleashed.com. johnlundunleashed.com.
Goodbye!